Hello, world, at this point, wherever you are, whether it's in Canada, the United Kingdom, Switzerland, Australia, Asia, I don't know. So I don't know whether it's good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is. Welcome to the first ever Canadian Indoor Rowing Challenge. I'm your host. Fortunately or unfortunately for you, hopefully, fortunately, by the end of it all, Trof here from live from Europe, coming to you across the globe today's event. And I think we have some exciting things to come. So I'm going to get us up to speed, talk a little bit about where we're going today, what we can expect to see. And I'm sure wherever you're tuning in, I hope you have your coffee or maybe your apéro, breakfast in hand, dinner in hand. We have couple hours ahead of us that are going to be very exciting for the first ever Canadian Indoor Rowing Challenge. So all today, you can follow along, of course, on Rowing Canada's handle, Twitter. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching now, then you've obviously found that link. And we have some exciting things to come today. We'll be starting the races shortly in about 9 minutes. So the races themselves for the national team athletes will be kicking off at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So as you know or may not know, the Canadian National Training Center is now based in Victoria, British Columbia, a place that I know well, that I called home for quite some time, and we'll be speaking to some athletes later today who call it home every day as they aim to represent Canada in Tokyo next summer. So a lot of exciting things to be expected. We're definitely going to see some athletes that will be competing in Tokyo next summer, fingers crossed, and as well those that are looking to qualify in the coming months. So a good mix, a good spread, male, female, and don't forget about our very successful para team, coached by John Wetstein, a very familiar face if you're from Burnaby, British Columbia, or now Victoria, BC. I had the pleasure of having John as my coach for one summer, and I know all of you that have certainly know him to be quite an exciting, passionate guy, and someone that has led our Paralympic team to quite some success. So we'll see those races later today, which are always quite exciting. And I think what's important to note is this is the first time we've ever done this, right? Rowing Canada, and you see other rowing organizations in the world taking this on. The World Indoor Rowing Championships, in fact, will be coming in 2021. So that was actually just announced this past Friday, so yesterday, that the World Indoor, let me get this right, America's Continental Qualifier for the 2021 World Rowing Indoor Championships are going to be held in Canada next year, next February. So as you can see, this trend is picking up, and virtual racing is probably becoming the new norm. And we'll see what that's like. Let me take a pause there and just say some exciting footage already on the screen for you. We'll have a mix today of different things, hopefully to keep you entertained. And there we have Canada's famous Carling. And there she is doing her warm-up with her coaches, keeping her on track and keeping the social distancing in place, a key component to today's program, I should say. So in fact, for those of you familiar, this is the Canadian Training Center Erg Dome. It's quite large. You're actually only seeing 1/4 of it. And in fact, what we've done to continue the COVID-19 measures is we've split the dome in half to ensure athletes are not outside of their bubbles, outside of their nodes, that in fact they are following exactly what they should be. Everyone's on track, and we're taking that quite seriously today. So what you're seeing here is the one side of the dome, and we'll be switching throughout the day. So Carling Zeman, for those of you who know Canadian rowing, you know her. Beside her, Gabby Smith, I believe it looks like. And as well, we're going to have Jessica Sevick joining us in terms of the National Training Center athletes today on the screen. Thank you. That makes it simple for everyone. We can see our first race coming down the course today, all of which with a ton of experience, so those who've been around for quite some time, and it should be something exciting to see. Some dominant races, good scores, and some interesting, from what I've been told, an interesting race plan from Gabby Smith. So let's see what's to come there. Today, another exciting piece is we actually also have non-national team athletes joining us from across the globe. And of course, in this first race, we're welcoming our friends from the South, a couple gentlemen from New York, Garden City, New York, as well as from Tahiti, the French Polynesian. So as you can see, this is truly a global event today, and it will be a global spectacle for the next 3 hours. There we are back in the Erg Dome with the National Training Center athletes. Just so you understand a bit how the races are going to flow, essentially the races are all starting at the same time across the globe. So our athletes, both in the training center and across the globe in their homes or in their backyards, in the snow, on the sunny beach, they're all timed in now, thanks to our friends at Time Team, and they are all going to be started at the exact same time. So if you can picture, if you yourself have been to an ERG championship and you know when you get to the start, it's not like a normal 2K when you get to start it yourself and when you just sit up and you can let the fan go a little bit and get in a good feel comfortable. It really is that same thing of waiting for the start, but not only are you waiting for the start for Carling and Gabby beside each other, the gentleman in French Polynesia is waiting for the exact same thing. So in 3 minutes time, we're going to get that global start. And what you're going to see as fans and spectators on screen here today is I'm going to take us over to the race starting page. You'll see the boats, you'll see the names. We'll do a quick recap of who we are, of course, our national team athletes. And then as well, we'll also see the other athletes here that will be competing across the world. Once we go into the starting sequence from as I said, our friends at Time Team will put us through that starting sequence. It's all over to them, and we will wait for the all clear and start of the race. The exciting thing for us is we're seeing it on the screen, and all these competitors are seeing it on their ERG. Pretty incredible when you think about just a few years ago. I remember my first indoor ERG championship back in 2008, I should say. And I remember being on the starting sequence, and everything was a lot different then to now bringing together the global athletes. So, folks, we see here our 3 national team athletes coming again, Carling, Gabby, and Jessica. I believe they're in the back. This is a real 2K, so we're actually not doing this for fun. I'm sure the athletes are definitely not doing this for fun, and we'll be able to catch up with them afterwards after we take a little bit of joy of watching their pain, but also joy of watching some top caliber world-class athletes go to town here. And we'll talk through their race strategy. We'll see exactly what they're going to do and walk through. As I said, Gabby Smith should have some interesting tactics here for us. So for all of you up-and-coming athletes, whether rowers, crossfitters, or even anyone that is getting into erging as a cross-training, definitely some cool stuff to be seen here. So we're about 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes, probably about 90 seconds to go into the racing sequence. You can see here the start list. So we have Jasmine Carter at the top of the screen there, and then followed by Gabriella Smith, Gabby Smith, Jessica Sevick, Carling Zimmerman, Wynn Hayes, John Garvey, Mira Calder, Mira Calder, daughter of the famous Dave Calder, 2008 Olympic medalist, and then Nathan Lays. So as I told you, the starting sequence is initiated by our friends at Time Team. The computer will soon take over, and that will be go for launch, if you will. It's a pretty exciting moment. The first race today of the Canadian Indoor Rowing Championships, Challenge, I should say. In my mind, it's a championship, but today we're calling it the Challenge. And let's just take a moment here as we wait for the starting sequence. Athletes are being told to stop, and soon we will get that start. And okay, so we have a false start. For those of you who know, a false start simply probably could be something technical, or someone perhaps jumped the gun a little bit. Again, we're doing this from a global perspective. So from the French Polynesian to Victoria, BC, all the way down to New York State, we're connecting the world virtually, literally via ERGs right now. So literally any little move Any little move that can, move the fan and trigger the system will also trigger a false start. Little similar to what you see on the race when you're on the water. Of course, if there's a false start, that crew will receive a yellow card, and if they have another false start, they are disqualified. I don't think we're going to be taking it too seriously like that today. Again, it's our first ever virtual race, so I'm sure we can cut some slack to whoever did it, and I won't name the names this time, but if it happens again, perhaps I will. That's okay though. The athletes here, I must say, as an athlete, it's a bit jittery. You know, it's frustrating, but also you have to stay focused. And I'm sure with the amount of experience of the athletes from the training center that we have here, it's not something to get you ready, to get you too out of place. Excuse me. So attention. And we should be off. It looks like a clean start. As you know, typically on the water, first 100 meters is something to watch out for any issues, be able to restart the race, call them back. But here we are, the first 50 meters of the race underway. As we said, Gabby Smith pulling out there quite strong, but across the board, the National Training Center athletes sitting in the 130s. And quite honestly, at least from my perspective, you know, the first 100 meters, 200 meters, it's great to blow out of there and get a good lead, especially on the water. Mentally, it can really put you in a good position, especially against your competition. And that's exactly what we're seeing here now as we start to settle into the first 200 meters of the race with 1,800 meters to go. Carling Zeman out in front, obviously not surprised at all. Quite impressive what she can do, and from that we can see no less of that today. So the first 250 meters down, the rate's now starting to come into a lot more manageable pace. You know, for perhaps if you're a shorter athlete, you know, you rely on that high rate. I remember back in my day, a typical 2K, I'd like to settle around 37 to 39. A good pace to just keep the fan spinning, right? At this point, really what you want to do is keep the fan spinning and making it feel as light as possible, right? Because as soon as you start to get bogged down, the fan gets harder, each stroke gets harder, it's painful on the legs as the lactic acid starts to build up. It's just not fun, to tell you the truth. Not that this is ever fun, but I could sure tell you that coming through the halfway mark or the 1,500 meter mark out in head, that is fun. And that really gives you that jolt as you enter into the second 500 of the race, finishing the first 500. So now, just to give you guys an idea, first race of the day, you're seeing on the right side, for those of you used to rowing, you'll know what you're looking at. For those of you not, let's just give you a quick rundown. So the far number, the 138 or the 142, that's the split. So that's what our athletes today are doing, a 500 meter piece on average to do that. And obviously those four split numbers come to the cumulative number, which you're seeing at the top. That's the 208, 209. That's going to be our race time today. To the left of the red split numbers, you're seeing what we call the rate, or the strokes per minute. And that's exactly that, where how many strokes to the catch and to the finish these athletes are taking per minute. As I said, in this type of race, you would expect at this level to be pushing the high 30s, but also it depends on what your race strategy is, right? If you're looking to go long and strong, some bigger athletes, strong athletes, they can do that. They can use their momentum and strength. But as I said, for me, it was typically a shorter, higher stroke to help keep that fan moving. Then we have the boats, which are across the course. We see the lane numbers in the boats. Obviously, virtual race, it's not too relevant, but typically, of course, those would be the lanes. Then we see here, we have an amazing shot here from the erg dome of the athletes going erging. Literally, what you're seeing on the left are those top three boats on the right. Now, as I was saying, the stroke rates, right? So you look to a Gabby Smith, she's sitting at a 31, right? So Gabby is in our right side of the screen there, to the left of Carling, if you were Carling. And so she's settling at a 31. Carling, though, is setting the pace, right? 36, 35, that's to be expected. It may sound high or difficult, but quite honestly, it's probably a walk in the park for Carling. What you can do is see that as they take the rates, she's coming up, she's finishing nice high into the chest, she's pulling in, and she, although looks like she's doing a 2K, she doesn't look stressed, right? She knows what she's doing, she knows exactly where she needs to be, and she's not letting her teammates around her distract her, and that's key, right? other times I've done these races where you're by yourself and you may think that that's easier, but in fact, that's just as equally mentally challenging as having your crew beside you all pulling different numbers. Let's take here now as we come into the 800 meters, Carling with a dominant lead. Jessica Sevic now, I believe, is sitting behind Carling, starting to pick up from there. But she's in a lot more of a slow, nice 31, 32, a good rhythm, right? And you'll see behind Gabby Smith, who is what it looks to be doing is doing a bit of a sprinting pace where she's going very fast, very strong, and then coming back to a more of a settle pace and then back up again. Which, as you see, folks, is really not playing too bad, wrong in her favor. Excuse me, it is playing to her favor. Let's not forget then about our dear friends from the U.S. down there in, I believe, both those boats in red are our friends from the U.S. Thank you for joining us today after the exciting election you've been having. And unofficially, I hear some news coming down there from the U.S. Mira Calder, in fact, this is the daughter of David Calder, I mentioned before, a famous Canadian rower, 2008 Beijing Olympics, bronze medal. And in fact, just for you guys today, we're following this race, we're going to have his coach, Terry Paul. I'm also proud to say my gold medal coach as well, on for an interview to talk to us about how training's going, what things are looking like for all of them. And then rounding out the field, we have our friend Nathan Lays, all the way from Tahiti, the French Polynesian. And thank you, Nathan. I know you can't hear me, but hopefully when you join afterwards, you'll be able to see us thanking you. Thanks for joining us today and for rounding out the field. So folks, let's focus on the race here. We have an amazing shot in the bottom right corner. We're seeing what the athletes are doing, and right in front of us, we have those scores. Again, Carling Zeman hasn't dropped off the pace, hasn't been worried, hasn't been flustered by what's going on. She's pulling up to a 42. Obviously, she knew what she was doing, and she was in a comfortable pace. She's on track today, I would say, if I know how to do math very quickly in my head, she's probably going to break 6:30, which also is not totally out of place for Carling. That's a dominant number for female open category, and it's amazing that we have this for us today. There we are, Kevin Light taking some photos of her as we're coming into the last 100 meters. 44, but look at the strength that she's putting through for us right now. Look at the length as well. Yes, there's some sacrifice of stroke length, but it's quite dominant still. And there she is coming through. So you see there's a bit of a lag between the two. Carling down the race, just maybe over 6:30. And now coming unofficially through to the last line, we have Jessica Sevic behind her. But Jessica putting on the show there is Wynn Hayes from the New York State, giving us a little bit of a look at that tight race, run for our money, about a 0.2 difference, with Gabby Smith rounding out the pack, unofficially coming in third, potentially fourth, but to be confirmed when we see the final count. Let's not forget about our friends still coming in the last 100 meters of the race as we round out that global push here today. Mira Calder, as I confirmed, 2019 Canadian Henley under 2017, under 17 women's 8 gold. So 18 years old. Potentially here, going against the big guns. What an incredible race for her. And coming in here with Jasmine Carter, Mira Calder, coming in to round out the field. We have our friend from French Polynesia finishing off the race. You'll see here their average splits all along the right side for the race. Again, unofficial scores here to be confirmed later. And folks, that's our first race of the day. Wow. I can't tell you enough how excited I was, how passionate I was to coach myself through that race, but also to commentate you through that. You could see some really different racing styles from across the board, and definitely different ways of attacking a race. As I was saying, for you young athletes out there, if you're looking to see how to perform, how to tackle these, it's not easy to wake up 9 a.m. Pacific time, all the way through to, I unfortunately don't know what time it is in French Polynesia, but all of these athletes here taking the challenge and adapting, right? Oftentimes in rowing, you can't always do what you want, right? It's about pushing yourself out of the comfort field, out of your comfort zone, and pushing yourself to be able to crush it. And so it's important things like this to be able to adapt to your environment, to be able to adapt to your time, and to be able to perform whenever you're told to. And to be honest, that's here what's separating the children from the men and women. And to be honest, we had that today. And someone like Carling, all the national team athletes, to be able to just train full time as they are, You know, typically, if I'm not wrong, they probably already had a session today, or they probably will have another session today, at least as a cool down. And that's after having at least 2 sessions every day for this past week. So just to say, put it in perspective for those of you training out there, whether it's for CrossFit, whether it's for rowing yourself, or just for fun, you know, this is a great opportunity to learn how the actual top world best-in-class athletes are doing it. So as I said, the flow of things today as we start getting things going, we're going to have many races to come. That was just the first one. In total, we have 8 races going to come down the course today. After each race, we'll recap the race, and we'll talk a little bit about what we just saw, as I am right now. And then we'll be joined by some exciting athletes, some of which who have just finished their race. So we'll be able to get firsthand how they feel and what's going on. And then we'll also, coming up now, hear from Coach Terry Paul, a legend in the Canadian rowing world. He's been a coach in Canada for many, many years, probably longer than some of us have been alive. He's also been a coach here in Switzerland, where I'm currently broadcasting live from to the world. So maybe he'll give me a few tips on where I can go to dinner. And on that, look, here we are live from Victoria, British Columbia, Coach Terry Paul. Terry, how are you today?
Good, Trofym. How you doing?
Good, all clear. You're looking good. A bit cold. What's the weather like?
Yeah, a little overcast. 2 degrees this morning when we woke up. Starting to warm up here, though. I think the athletes are going to contribute to temperature in the dome going up a little bit.
A little bit, eh? Okay, very nice. Yeah. Now, tell us about. I was just telling the viewers before you joined, Terry. So, been around a long time in Canada, both as an athlete yourself, winning the '92 Olympics. I won't say how old I was then, and now coaching Canada for many, many years. Tell us a little bit about what's going on currently with your crews and how the training out west is going.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we got things going again in mid-June, and mostly in single, and managed to get ourselves back into some crew boats right now. So I'm currently working with the men's 4, and just been trying to have get some miles up and get our technical field back on the water, and doing quite a bit of cross training, trying to keep it fun for the athletes. So a little bit of cycling in the afternoons, and a little bit of erging. So yeah, that stuff's been happening. But it's really important for us to an event like this today is quite important for us to have a little competitive carrot at the end of a training block that we want to work towards. So we've had a few internal competitions along the way, which has been quite fun as well.
Absolutely. No doubt. And so with the different measures in place and the impact of the coronavirus, as a coach, what has been the most difficult for you and with your athletes?
Well, we have our management sort of staff and management high performance program around us and our doctor has imposed quite a few measures around social distancing, and we've established nodes. So we've got a few nodes set up. We have 5 different nodes, so the athletes can't all train together at the same time. So we've got a few little groups separated off. So that's been difficult. So we're trying to kind of keep the energy up with small groups. So that's been a bit of a challenge.
Right. And have you been able to stick to the usual routine? I mean, I guess the erging and stuff is the athletes are doing at home versus in the dome primarily, or?
Initially, yeah, we were all at home, but recently we've had some restrictions have been lifted. We are maintaining social distancing in our erg dome here, so less people at one time, obviously, but we're still on our regular. You'll remember our 4x6Ks on Monday nights, and some livelier stuff on Friday nights. So normal routine.
Oh, man, I didn't want to ask.
A lot of volume on the water still, so we're continuing to train, and we're optimistic that we're going to get a chance to race, and that's why it's important to have an event like this and our internal assessments where we can sort of measure ourselves and see how we're doing.
Absolutely. And I guess it is so critical. I mean, as so many things are still uncertain with, we saw the European World Rowing Championships happen this year. Fortunately for the European athletes, it was, it was quite useful. And I think just as things were starting to get maybe a little more intense here with the coronavirus, fortunately the European World Rowing Championships were able to happen. But for you, for the United States, even Mexico, it's a different story, right? And how do you? I know you mentioned that this race today is a little carrot. It's true, something to stay focused. But how are you planning your training at this point? Are you focusing on different blocks to get through the winter, or is there a particular race in mind that you're aiming towards?
Well, for sure. I mean, the focus for my particular group, the men's four, we haven't qualified yet, so our focus is going to be on leading up into the qualifier in Lucerne in May.
Yeah.
We had some plans to do some warm weather camps and all that kind of stuff. That's not going to happen because we're restricted with our travel. So we're just trying to. We have a few 6-week blocks planned for volume. We're going to probably do a little cross country skiing in the winter, and just basically try to be ready if and when the opportunity comes for us to be able to travel to Europe and hopefully get the opportunity to qualify.
Nice, absolutely. And I'm looking. Pardon?
We do have a plan to get to Petaluco for the first for our first event, which would be 2 weeks before World Cup 1 in Zagreb. So we'll be in Petaluco in Italy, then on to a camp in Bled in Slovenia, and then on to Zagreb. That'll be our first sort of international test, and get ourselves a chance to measure how we're doing, and you know, that all important race experience that you need to have, so we know we're on track, and any final sort of adjustments we need to make going into the qualifier. We've got another 2 weeks in Italy before that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure the athletes are in good hands. I'm a world champion thanks to you, so I trust that you know what's happening, and the athletes will be feeling good, feeling comfortable, and ready for a nice run down the course.
Yeah, well, we're doing our best. The guys are having fun. They're enjoying their training, and they're going fast. And you know, right now we're optimistic and keeping our focus where it needs to be.
Absolutely. Well, Terry, thank you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to hear you. And take care of yourself. Stay warm, and we can't wait to welcome you back to Europe soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Trof. Thanks for doing this.
Ciao. Take care. All right, folks, there we are. Terry Paul, a legend at the training center, been around a long time. I should have said 1992 gold medalist as well as a coxie for Canada. Now we have race 2 coming up in just 2 minutes. So let's go to the starting list and see who we're dealing with, who we are, and what we're dealing with. Race 1 is finished, yes, but race 2. So we have a few athletes, senior men from the training center. Terry was talking about them specifically. We have Luke Gadsden, Josh King, and Trevor Jones. So those will be the 3 athletes that we see on the training center. And we are looking forward to seeing them crack on. If I know anything from Terry's training plan, he has them ready to go for this, and it'll just be another session for them. So lots to look forward to there as we see the first of our senior men out on the ergs today. Joining us from across the world, across Canada, that is, we have Alexander Gonin from Victoria, so probably just down the road from where the training center is now. We have Mike Kark, who should be joining us from Winnipeg. So if Terry's telling you it's cold in Victoria, it's probably frozen solid in Manitoba. And lastly, Owen Markovitz from Victoria, BC as well. So definitely some experience in those under 17, under 19 gentlemen. This is a full male race today, and we should have some excitement down the course soon, just coming up in the next few minutes. So if you're just joining us, welcome to the first ever Canadian Indoor Virtual Challenge. My name is Trofym. I'll be your host today from beautiful Lausanne, Switzerland, broadcasting to the world. We just had some athletes from the French Polynesia, and here we are for a Canadian crowd. As we go here, the starting sequence about to start. The athletes are all sitting ready across the country. They'll see that attention, and they're all about to get the go in just a second. Just like that, we have a start, and the athletes are off, as you would expect in any 2,000-meter race. We have the first initial sprint as athletes start to feel comfortable. quite jittery, and if anything, it's actually nice to get those few first high-end strokes out of your system and moving quite along. As I said, again, if you're just joining us, you'll see here live from the official National Training Center in Victoria, BC, Terry Paul, who we just had the honor of speaking with, in the background there, watching his athletes. And the three athletes you're seeing here on the screen today, we have Luke, Josh, and Trevor. Trevor Jones, I believe he's sitting in the top left. No, excuse me, he's in the back there in the black t-shirt, I believe. Trevor Jones, a legend in Canadian, up-and-coming Canadian rowing. Extremely good performances at the junior and under 23 level in the men's single, and someone to be reckoning with as we approach Tokyo and hopefully qualify later this year. So what you're seeing on the screen, folks, again, in the far right red number, that's the split. So that's the average split that athlete's currently pulling to complete a 500-meter portion of the race, which are 4 and a 2,000 meter. To the left of that, you're seeing their split, and that's exactly that, the strokes that they're taking, their rate, which is the strokes they're taking per minute. You'll see the boats there, which gives us a little idea of where everyone's sitting. And then at the top right corner, you'll see the cumulative time, which of course is unofficial until later today when it becomes official. First 500 meters of the race done. Not too surprised to see our national team athletes out there, but our friend Mike Carrick from Winnipeg, he is definitely not cold, despite how probably cold it is there, because this gentleman is full steam ahead, and he's keeping on pace with our friend Trevor and Luke, and he's proving why he should be the next gentleman to join the National Training Center. So my apple pie, we have a race on our hands, folks, and as we come through the 1,300 meter mark, let's see what these different boats are going to do. Very exciting nonetheless, because as you know, now we're in that body part of the race, whether it's the middle 500 or the middle 1,000, depending on the athlete and how they split it up. This is where you really got to start feeling comfortable. If you're not enjoying it at this point, you're probably going to have a miserable upcoming 1,200, even 1,000 meters. So really here, the athletes are settling down into that low stroke rank. And actually, you'll see exactly what I was talking about before, right? And I'm actually not surprised at all to know how well Trevor has done both internationally and domestically, because he's a tall guy. He's a tall guy. He rows the single very powerfully, and he has a long, strong stroke. Yet he's still going at a 36 comfortably in the middle of the race, right? So you can imagine that long stroke rate from his length, and also the repetition, 36, 37 strokes a minute. That 129, 130 is probably just feeling like cutting butter. It's just a walk in the park. Quick rhythm, sitting up tall, and he's making it feel really light. And that's the key here, because as soon as you start to settle into those lower rate rhythms, if you can do it, no problem, but it's going to feel a lot heavier. And mentally, that's not always good. So you'll see here Trevor and Luke really setting the pace in the final 900 meters. Joshua dropping back just a bit, but folks, let's be real here. These are national team athletes. This is not a different day for them. This is just another session. They're probably their 11th or 12th of the week. And there is a lot that's going on in the background to get them to where they are today. So let's not forget that. Our friends Mike and Alexander maintaining there with Josh. I wish I knew which one was Josh on the screen here, but he's definitely one of them. I can promise you that. Soon in the back corner, you'll see Carlene Zeman. She's obviously cleaned up and cooled down. So soon we're going to be talking to her, which is also really exciting. So folks, Trevor setting the pace, 128, 129. All goes well here and stays on track. He's going to break 6 minutes. And that, sounds incredible, but at the same time, it's the norm at the National Training Center. So let's see here. He obviously is feeling extremely comfortable, sitting at a 38, 39, even pushing a 40. And I don't mean to focus in on him here, folks, but it is critical to see what he's doing, because from an athlete perspective, he's nailing it. This is on top, and I'm not surprised. I know Terry coaches him supports coaching him together with the other athlete coaches there at the training center. And this is just bang on rowing. Long strokes, high rhythm, low rates. But we're seeing a good mixture across the board, right? I mean, even Alexander from BCRC is pushing a 38 in the last 500 meters. I mean, if you can hold that, you're going home to the races. I mean, that is fantastic to be able to start pumping up the rate at this part of the finale. Myself, I would probably wait till around the 300 meter mark to start pushing up the rate, but it also depends how your middle was, right? And what your race strategy is. if you took it down a bit and focus on a lower space, then you're going to need to rely on these last 300 meters. Or and someone like, for instance, with Trevor, if you just focused in and went hard and strong the entire race, which I personally think is a lot more efficient, and grabbing that split and holding on to it, you're also going to nail it. So here he is at a 42, 125. We see both our top competitors pushing a 40, top 4 overall, all below 130 splits. I mean, these are top numbers to see here today, and they're going to lead to some very unofficial, impressive times. And quite honestly, as I said, this is just another day of training for them, right? So to have this, to be able to pull this out of your back pocket, you can imagine what it's going to look like when we go to the on-water championships next year. Coming into the line here, the last few minutes, we have the big screen. We have Trevor. He's already done his race. In front of him, we have Josh and Luke, who are finishing out strong. Both of those gentlemen unofficially will come through under 6 minutes with Josh. Mike from Winnipeg. I don't know who you are, Mike, but thanks for showing up today, because in the very last second, you nipped it by 0.1. So congrats to you, Mike. Unofficial results, as I said, with Owen rounding out the pack here from VCRC. Under 17, gentlemen. So here we are, all the way from Olympic national team level to under 17. And folks, that's the beauty of rowing, whether it's indoor, whether you're in Manitoba, frozen solid, although he's probably quite warm and tired right now. This is it. And it's amazing to be able to unite globally all of our friends here. So there you have it, folks. Race 2 of the day, 2 of 8, 6 more to come. Unofficial results on the board now. An impressive race and many different race profiles, right? And this is where it comes to be so important to watch this as an athlete. As I said, whether you're a national team athlete, a college athlete, someone who is in CrossFit or uses this as a cross training for your actual sport, you're seeing a lot of different opportunities here as to how you can tackle a race plan. And that's Q. That's invaluable, and it allows you to see the different ways that you're able to go about it. Personally, what Trevor did there, I think, is my favorite, and I think it's the most efficient, grabbing a split, holding on to it that whole way. But it takes a lot of discipline, right? What you don't want to do is that, and then in the last 5 minutes, or 500 meters, you can't do it any longer, right? So you need to do what works for you, but you definitely have opportunities through the numerous events throughout the year to be able to get used to that and get comfortable with it. So I'm very passionate. I'm having an amazing time here, and I'm sorry if I'm speaking too much or too quickly, but this is just some quality stuff. Wherever you're joining us from across the world, coming up, we've just finished race 2, and we're moving on to our second interview of the day, which, if I am correct, here we have it, the infamous Carling Zeman. Wow, it has been a while. How are you, Carling?
Hey, Trof. Hello, everyone.
What's up? Look at this. So you're broadcasting to the world right now, and they're all excited. They've just watched you race, so you're already joining us. You're cooled down. How do you feel?
Yeah, not quite cooled down. I've got a lot of lactic acid in me, but I got my breath back.
Good, and thank you for joining us. Now, so you've been out west. Things are going as usual. You're training. You're qualified for Tokyo 2020, and then all of a sudden, COVID-19 hits. So tell us a little more. What has it been like? How have you, as an athlete, stayed focused on Tokyo 2020 in 21?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it hasn't been easy. Being back at the training center in Victoria has certainly helped a lot, just being surrounded in a high-performance environment. And then obviously getting to race teammates keeps you sharp. So that's been good, but certainly, as I said before, not easy. The goal has always been to get onto the Olympic podium, so it's just remembering that and keeping that in sight, and dealing with everything else as it comes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I guess so you've had a mix now, because you're coming back into training, being able to train at least in your node or something, right? You can at least see other human beings.
Right. Yeah. So right now I'm in a node of 7 athletes plus 2 coaches or at least that's my training group. My node is a little bit bigger, but yeah, it's good. I think we are pretty focused and have a lot of trust in our coaches.
Yeah,
So it's just
absolutely.
staying focused on that, and like they have a plan at least. Like that's what we believe. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
There is a plan, not to worry.
yeah.
And so what has been your kind of corona, if you will, hobby that's been keeping you busy during the
Oh.
lockdown and training at home? Oh boy. Okay, tell us more.
Well, for those of you who don't know, I got a dog, and she keeps
Oh,
myself and my roommates very busy and active. Her name's Lola. She's a husky, and she
Lola.
likes to chase squirrels. So,
Wow.
yeah, that keeps us running all over Victoria.
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
I've also started doing a little bit of woodworking with my sister
Whoa.
and one of my brothers,
hmm
and that kind of eats up a lot of my spare time, which
Yep.
is great. You gotta do something else besides rowing, and um, yeah, it's
Absolutely.
connect with the old family, so that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exciting. That's amazing to hear. And I mean, obviously, you've been handling it well. You've stayed focused, as you say. I mean, there is a plan, I can assure you. So, Tokyo is not far away, but it's amazing that you've been
Yeah.
able to adapt. I mean, your event, the single, you're already alone. So to be alone all the time maybe is a little tougher. So, and it's obviously you've
Oh
managed
yeah,
it quite well, which
yeah. Can't. My coaches know that I can't live alone. I spend too much time alone on the water. I need some
yeah.
people.
Absolutely. And so, okay, that's exciting to hear. Now, tell us, for those of the athletes out there, obviously you've just had a dominant race as usual. I mean, nothing surprising there. How do you prepare? What was your meal last night? Did you go downtown to
Mm.
McDonald's? Did you make some pasta? What was it?
All right. Shout out to my roommate Maya. She made me a delicious meal. I don't even know. Honestly, we do this. We play this game where we, price that meal, and I would have priced it at $55 plus. It was honestly the best thing. We had salmon. We had like this gourmet salad, and then made some bread and some
Okay, wait a
squash.
second. Stop right there. What you have a game called Price This Meal.
It's great. It's great.
How
It
does it work? Tell us
kind
more
of
about this. This could be a new Corona hobby of mine.
well, it's as if you were going out to a restaurant. What would you pay for that meal? And obviously, at the restaurant, you have to pay for it. But
hmm
with Corona, you can't always go out, so
hmm
we just buy our meal at home with fake money.
Wow. There you go. So it's like a restaurant. Do you ever cook? Are you the one ever cooking or?
Oh yeah, I don't know if I can live up
Oh,
to the $55 meal, but I do my
oh,
best.
nice. Wow. I could imagine. I think I miss most about Victoria going to Thrifties and picking up 50 oysters and going home to shuck them.
Yeah,
Not really
yeah.
a thing anymore.
Unfortunately,
So
yeah, yeah. We're on the athlete budget, so 50.
yeah, well, I should say only when they were on sale, right? I mean, come on now. Not every the time. Nice. So you've okay. Well, this is exciting. So you've been managing it well. You're focused. The training is going well, and it sounds like you're on track.
Yeah, yeah. I'm feeling good. Yeah,
Nice. Okay. Well, I don't know when we'll see you next in person or hopefully in Europe. Can't wait to have you back in Europe soon. And
yeah.
I hope that we see you on the water soon, if nothing else. And
Oh,
definitely, if nothing else, we see you in Tokyo next summer.
yeah. Rock on.
Stay focused, take care of yourself, and thanks for joining us.
Okay. See you, Trove. Bye, everyone.
Okay, have a good day. There you have it, folks. Carling Zeman, Canadian legend in the women's single, talking us through her day to day, exactly how she prepared for this, and exactly what she's doing. So, just a few minutes from now, we're going to be going on to race 3. I'll give you a few seconds to grab a coffee or grab a beer wherever you are in the world, and join us back here live at the first ever Canadian Indoor Rowing Challenge.
This event is run using Time Team Regatta systems, making virtual racing possible. Time Team Regatta Systems, the timing partner of many events worldwide.
And we're back. So if you're just joining us, welcome to the first ever Canadian Indoor Rowing Challenge. For those of you who've been with us for the last, 40 minutes or so, you have gotten used to the flow of things here and exactly where we are. So I'm your host, Trof, broadcasting live from Lausanne, Switzerland, across the world, and with our athletes joining us across the world as well. Coming up here, you'll see our next race, race 3 of the day, a very, very exciting race. A lot of my old teammates there up on the board and just getting ready into the starting blocks now. So at the top, you'll see the National Training Center athletes the top there is Jacob Buchek, rower, former lightweight rower from Columbia University, followed by our friend Jean-Sebastien from the French Polynesian. Again, welcome. So again, a truly global race. I still have no clue what time it is in French Polynesia. I should by this point, given that you're the second athlete from there, but I hope you're warned. As well from the national team, we have Cody Bailey, Gavin Stone, and capped off by Will Crothers, 2012 silver medalist UW Husky, famous rowing university in America, proud Husky, I know he is, and many of them that come back to Canada and absolutely dominate our program. So just starting in a moment, as I said, this race being run globally, the athletes all seeing the ready call and the attention, and soon they will all be started by our friends at Time Team. Just like that, we have the race underway. Doesn't look to be any false starts. So we're on track here, 50 meters into the race, and we have right for you the actual shots of the athletes themselves. So in the back far left, you have Will Crothers in the white shirt, in his classic, always wearing a white shirt for his ergs. You have, I believe, Gavin in the top left. You have Jacob Buchek in the top right. And in the back, you have Cody Bailey. So again, these top-notch athletes, Coach Terry Paul, who we saw earlier today in our interview, in the back corner there. And here we are with the live results of what's going on. So for those of you just joining us or new to this, in the top right, we have the cumulative time. That won't be official until the race is done today. On the far right, you'll see the splits in red. That's the actual time that their athletes are taking to complete a 500-meter piece. And 4 of those make up the 2K. To the left, you'll see their stroke rate. So that's the amount of strokes they're taking per minute. And then you'll see the actual boats with number 7, Stone, in the lead. And then you'll see the other ones following and exactly how many meters behind each of them are from the leader. For those of you who are used to rowing and know exactly about the split and the stroke, you'll get that. For those of you who are not, you'll see the boats on the screen with the actual meters behind. So if you can imagine in your head exactly what's going on, and if this was real life, you would see those boats exactly on the water. And if anything, we have ourselves a real 7-boat race here happening down the course. So we've just entered the second 500 meters. And again, this is where we're going to see the athletes start to settle in, start to feel comfortable, and get into their base pace. Depending on the type of athlete, whether they're perhaps a taller, stronger athlete, they may start to settle the rates. But I don't suspect that we will see that today from our national team athletes. At this point in time, they're quite used to this. A base pace as you start to push the national Olympic level is going to be in that second higher end of 30s, no doubt, which we just saw with Trevor Jones in the last race. So you'll see here now our top 4 National Training Center athletes, the 4 boats there from the top. Sebastian and Gustav just dropping off a little bit, but still on track here. Again, folks, this is a mix of under 23s and senior men, along with the national team athletes. So a good mix, truly global mix, as I said here today. So just coming up to the 1,000-meter mark, and we still have some pretty good connection. Gavin leading the way, followed by Will in the rear, taking the top 4 of the athletes here from the training center. Fortunately, we're going to hear from Will right after this, so we'll know exactly how he feels. But this is nothing new to him, okay? I can tell you, being a young athlete myself, looking up to Will and his old teammate, Rob Gibson, true legends in the sport and have really been there and done that. I remember in 2012 at the London Olympics, sitting there in the stands and watching Will we have there in the back left there, take the men's 8 all the way through the course, powered through GB, and got Canada a silver medal after coming off of a gold in 2008. So folks, here we have Olympians, we have decorated Olympians, we have decorated college athletes. Buchek from Columbia University. I should say Buchek used to be a lightweight rower, okay? And now he's rowing heavyweight. And you can see that long, strong profile, right? He's a long, tall rower. He's taking long strokes. All these guys are really taking quite some long strokes. If we go back to the leaderboard there, we'll get an idea of what their splits are and exactly how they're maintaining. So as I said, not to be surprised, the top 4 guys sitting into those high 30s and really starting to get into that base rhythm, all around that 130, 131 mark. Gavin obviously dominating at a 127. All of these athletes have different strengths, right? And as Terry was telling you before, Terry is their coach, by the way. These are the 4 gentlemen, as of now, that are going to look to qualify the straight 4 in Lucerne next year, in beautiful Lucerne, Switzerland, ahead of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics delivered in 2021. So they got a lot on their plate, right? They're training, but they're also not just training for the Olympics, but training to qualify the boat. And so as we come into the last 400 meters here, you'll see the 4 of them rounded out and quite similar paces, right? Quite similar rhythms and a similar race strategy, all of which, as I say, they make up the straight 4, so not surprised here. Will himself raced the straight 4 in Rio after his London 2012 silver medal. So quite impressive here and quite a good show that we have here coming into the last 250 meters of the race. Let's not forget about our friends who are joining Gustave, Jean-Sebastien, and Kaylin, all joining us on the screen as well from across Canada and the world. So all these athletes here racing each other. And if you'll see in the bottom picture there, the dome, you see that rhythm that they're all getting kind of into, right? Of course, they kind of go out of sync a little bit, but generally speaking, you see a similar profile. And that's exactly what you would expect for a crew that's looking to qualify for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. So back on the leaderboard, the last few hundred meters here as we approach 0, Gavin Stone well below 130 at a 47. I don't know how short or how long his stroke is, but that's incredible, folks. And that could be the most impressive performance we see here today. 126.4, unofficially down the course, dominant, right? We're talking 540s like a walk in the park. Cody, Jacob, and Will all rounding out the pack here to finish off the race and put an impressive last 500 meters on. There we go, gentlemen. The 4 National Training Center athletes finishing it out. Kaylin in the bottom there, rounding out the pack, not far off at a 131.7 split, and a couple hundred, so just about 100 meters behind. We have Gustav and Jean-Sebastien joining us here to finish out the race in the final 50 meters. We're going to hear from Will in just a bit, but first we have another surprise, so stay tuned for that. As we finish the 3rd race here of today, race 3, the Canadian Indoor Virtual Rowing Challenge. You see the athletes here breathing hard, quite painful, but they've done it, and that's another one in the book. Saturday mornings, out right in the pain cave. Here we are, folks. The 7 of these gentlemen here putting themselves in a little bit of pain for our pleasure and our excitement, but also their training, so let's not forget about it too much. There we are, unofficial results. And as I said, Gavin Stone so far leading us today with a very impressive finish and very impressive performance overall today, dominating the field. So as I was saying, the athletes now, of course, the lactic acid is miserable. It's built up in all their legs, in their arms, in their wrists. You know, I remember doing these things and you finish and you feel like you're going to black out, right? It's not a good feeling. Maybe you taste blood, maybe you do black out, maybe you puke, I don't know. But you know what? If you have an amazing score like some of these gentlemen have just pulled here today, it's arguably worth it. So on that, I think we'll let them rest up, have a take a breath, and get a snack, and we'll go to our next interview. Trevor, hello. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Tired.
Yeah, you're okay?
Yeah, it feels a bit out of it, but it's coming back.
I was just telling our viewers, so Trevor, right now you're broadcasting to the world globally, no fear. Potentially even French Polynesia, because we've had some gentlemen join us from there today. So as they're sitting on the beach, maybe enjoying a nice apéro, you're here in this beautiful tent. I hear it's a little cold there, though.
Yeah, it's a bit chilly this morning, but it's warming up now, so.
Okay, good. And how's it going? So I was, as our viewers were watching your race, I mean, I was just absolutely shocked. You know, you're a tall guy, you're a big build, strong guy, and you kept that rate so high the whole time. And it was really obviously why you dominate everyone. But how do you do it? As such a tall athlete, how do you keep that rate so high?
I think being a tall athlete, I don't have to I short enough a bit. I don't really find the need to row full slide. So I end up rowing a little bit over 3/4. I'm just able to kind of keep it and tap it along and not try to don't need to work harder to use my length.
Absolutely. So. And just like you say, tap, you know, I think you would agree. If you can keep it just tapping along, it actually becomes fun at some point. It feels a lot less tiresome and heavy.
Yeah, it's just more like, it's like spinning the wheels on a bike, and it's just keeping along and not getting bogged down through that, like, second and third 500. So at the end, it's just like you just build up with the power, and the sprint is almost easier because of it, because you're not having to build the rate, and just you can build it through the drive.
Absolutely. Nope, that I'm not surprised to hear that, and obviously your success is exactly why. So congratulations on that fantastic race today. Tell us, how's the training been going? So obviously Corona, you were training towards Tokyo 2020 to qualify for that, and then Corona hits. So you're a young athlete. How do you stay focused and on track?
I just try to get into like a daily routine and just not really just stay in the moment and just approach it kind of week by week, and then eventually when the time comes, we'll be ready to race. But it's just trying to stay in the moment and not get drawn away from what we're doing right now.
Right. And so what has been your kind of Corona quarantine hobby, if you will? What have you taken up, if anything? Maybe you just rode more.
Like we've been rowing kind of back at it since like June, so it was only right now it's like I'm back in like the daily rowing grind, but I didn't really get in like when we shut down. I didn't really pick up any new hobbies or anything. It was just more try to relax and enjoy the bit of the time away from it while I could, and then now it's just back to the usual grind.
Yeah, and because you're from Ontario, correct?
Yeah.
Nice. And
Yeah,
so for our viewers that don't know Canada, although the entire world should know the geography of Canada, Ontario's in the middle, and currently you're living on the tropical island of Victoria, British Columbia, and out there fending for yourself. Have you been taking up cooking? You know, tell us, what's your pre-race meal? What did you make last night?
I had some mashed potatoes and sausages. I just try to I'm a guy who needs to eat a lot of food, so it's just like a lot of carbs, and just tried to like make sure I went in having eaten enough the day before, like that like I can come into this piece like knowing that like I have the fuel storage to kind of keep it going in that second half.
Very nice. Okay, and so you've been keeping up with your eating. You've been staying focused. You're getting ready and to focus on the qualification next spring. And so all in all, you're feeling comfortable, or how are things?
Yeah, it's just been a slow progression since June, but it's just like I just feel like I'm consistently getting faster and faster, and it's like times on the water are consistently improving. So it's just it just got trust in the program we're doing, and it's just everything feels like it's heading in the right progression, and it's just time will tell at this point.
Absolutely. And well, as you say, I mean, you're improving. You're seeing improvements on the water every day, and so obviously that's motivation in itself.
Yeah, it's nice. The longer rows are getting easier, so it's good.
Yeah. Nice. Well, that's exciting. I appreciate you joining us. I mean, I know you just did quite the 2K and the lactates there, so thank you for taking a few minutes to talk with us and join us here. We wish you all the best, and I think from myself, looking forward to welcoming you back to Europe next spring and for some exciting results.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Take care, Doug. Nice talking to you.
See ya. Bye.
Ciao. So, folks, there you are. Another exciting interview. We're quite lucky here today. This is not the norm. The national team athletes are typically very much in the zone. They're focused both before and after the race. And, as I was saying earlier on, this is just another day, right? It's not like they do this 2K and pack it up and it's all done now, right? I mean, this is part of their daily training. And so on that, they need to get back, right? They need to cool down. They need to properly cool down. They need to flush that lactate out and be able to then perform either for tomorrow's training session or Monday's training session. It's just an endless grind. And right now, when your sights are set on Tokyo 2020 in 2021, you need to stay focused, and every single day counts. Because I can tell you, whether your competitors are in Europe, in Asia, in even the south of you, in the U.S. and Mexico, they're all training just as hard, and you need to be consciously thinking all the time what your competitor is doing and what you're doing to separate yourselves for the next one. So that'll do us from the last race. I think in a few minutes we'll tune over to the next race, race 4, which also plans to be just as exciting. I must say here, we have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening, wherever in the world you are. Just a great lineup of high caliber athletes and amazing performances here today. So another exciting race to come up, followed by an interview with the famous Will Crothers, proud UW Husky. And I am sure he will have lots to tell us about what he's been up to since the Rio Olympics and what he's been doing to keep himself in check ahead of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. So on that, I think we'll take a short break, and we'll come back very soon and get that lineup going for the 4th race of the day, 10 a.m. Pacific time.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
Time Team Regatta Systems. Run your races with success. Time Team Regatta Systems, the timing partner of many events worldwide.
And we're back, folks, for the fourth race of the day today, the Canadian Indoor Rowing Challenge, coming to you live from across the world. I'm Trof, broadcasting live from Lausanne, Switzerland, and we have an exciting fourth race, so we're going to jump right over to that. We have the athletes in place, and you can see they're already in the attention call, and it's just about to get underway. So from here, we have them. They've been executed, and the race has started. Here we are, the National Training Center. You'll see on the top four, we have the Lisa Roman, Kasha, I'm not going to say the last name, Christine Roper, and Andrea, all of which very well experienced athletes. They've been around a long time. I remember Andrea when she just started rowing, and much more. So Linton Grice, Benoit Mercier, and Alexander Joyner, all of which on the screen now, going down the course. Let me say, we have a mix here before I get into exactly what you're seeing on the screen here. So the national team athletes you see on the top, the NTC, that's going to be senior women, and then followed by a few senior men and under 17 men here as well. So again, all the way from Olympic caliber down to under 17 men, we have an amazing spread here and an amazing fourth race up here on the screen now. For those of you joining for your first time, you'll see the cumulative score in the top right corner, the 1 minute counter, and that's going to be the unofficial score that we're looking to watch today. In the right side, you'll see the splits. So these are the numbers that the athletes are pulling to complete a 500 meter piece, and of which a 2K is made up of 4 of those. So on average, what it's taking them at that point in time. Then you'll see the splits right next to that, the strokes per minute right next to that, and that's exactly that. It's the amount of strokes that the athletes are taking on the erg or on the water per minute, and that'll give you a good indication of where they're at in the race, perhaps, or how they're feeling. We've had amazing interviews with athletes like Trevor Jones, who we saw, very tall guy with a very dominant high stroke rate, pushing the 40s nearly the entire race. We also saw the senior men just go down the course, where we saw that super high stroke rate in the beginning, a nice settle to high 30s, and then a high one at the finish. And that's your typical race profile. But again, it all comes down to what you feel comfortable with as an athlete, because at the end of the day, it's you on the line. Now we're approaching the 1,300 meter mark, and we see a clear lead from Linton Grice. So I see here Linton Grice, senior men from Oakville, Ontario. As he puts it, no previous rowing experience, just your average over 40 guy who has almost been rowing for 1 year now. So Linton, thanks for joining us. You're proving to be not average today, and we're happy to have you with us going head to head against our national team athletes, as well as some other competitors from across Canada. So congratulations for being out there in front right now and setting a good pace. As Linton says, I mean, your stroke rate right now, a 30, your splits all bang on and quite impressive for someone who's only been rowing for a year. So congratulations to you. As we look now, we're coming into the middle of the middle 1,000, or 1,000 meters to go. We start to see the athletes, this is their base pace, right? And you can see Akasha, who's sitting at around 34, 33. You then see Lisa, Andrea, and Christine a little bit similar. And again, not to be surprised here, because some of these athletes rowed together in the women's 8, which I must say is qualified for the Tokyo 2020 Games. Others row in a double. So I know Andrea is in the double. She qualified the double last year. And all in all here, we have fairly similar profiles, right? And that's definitely an indication perhaps of their training style, their race plan style, that they rode together, many different things. But what you're seeing here is quite similar and right on track for how they're going to perform today. Right now, as we see them, I actually am so shocked how quickly these races go by, because there's so many great pieces of information here that we can pull and that we can see. And as I said, whether you're an athlete that's joining us who's looking to become a national team athlete, you want to get into the mix with the likes of Will, Terry Paul, Crothers, or you just are a new CrossFitter and you want to get better at rowing, or you use rowing as a cross-training sport. we love you all, and we welcome you all, and we're happy that you found rowing as a sport that you can learn to come to for some enjoyment, at least. Here, though, we can see, it's interesting to be able to pick and choose the different race profiles, for instance. And again, with the senior women, senior men, both the open category and the lightweight, we're seeing different profiles that perhaps one of you viewers from across the world can pick up on and maybe use to your strengths. I guess what I'm saying is there's different ways to attack it, and you can see they all come out with some success. So let me just remind you, Linton here is a senior men category. The top 4 National Training Center athletes, those are our senior women. So of course, the splits are a bit off here, but again, that's because we're all going head to head with generally similar times athletes. Coming up to the last 400 meters here, we have our national team athletes all in a nice rhythm, but you see Kasia taking up the rate. So unfortunately right now, the dome, it's getting a little hot and steamy in there with all the breathing, so we can't get in just yet to be able to see what's going on. But when we do get back, it'd be nice to understand, her rate is extremely high. It's doing that for quite some time, and she's obviously putting on a strong finish to push out Christine Roper and not let her get ahead. 3 meters, folks, that's not far. It's about a canvas lead that Kasia has over Christine if they were on the water. So it's quite close. And Kasia at this point is probably looking to her side, and she does not want to let Christine take her on. And I'm sure there's a bit of pride to push her to the last 100 meters and to get her across the line. At this point, everything hurts. You almost can't feel it, but you need to keep going. And these are the moments that are going to get you gold medals, world records. Folks, we're seeing a fantastic race here amongst athletes, amongst teammates here, and it's just amazing. The domination, Christine, an experienced rower, been around rowing Canada for a long time. She has something up her sleeve, and she's come up in the field here to make it even. She's not going to let it happen, and she's going to prove why she's on the national team today, because she likes a challenge, and she's just eaten that challenge. Coming in, 0.1, unofficially below Kasia, followed by Andrea, Lisa, rounding out the pack for our national team athletes. Linton, our friend who just joined a year ago, average 40-year-old. You're not so average, Linton, so don't tell yourself that. We have a fantastic final, Linton, Benoit, and Alexander rounding out the pack here for our 4th race of the day. Quality results, quality rowing, and just fun to be had by all. Myself, hopefully you as viewers from wherever you are in the world right now, hopefully our friends in the French Polynesia are still joining us, and congrats to you and your races, whether you're in British Columbia, Canada, wherever you are. Thanks for joining us today at the first ever Canadian Indoor Rowing Challenge. It's been a pleasure to have you on here. We're only halfway through the day's racing. We still have 4 more very exciting races to come. We have even more exciting interviews to come. So let me tell you, as I said, Rowing Canada and Husky legend Will Crothers is about to join us and talk us through his life, which is quite exciting. I'm sure we'll have a few funny stories to tell and ask him, which will be a lot of fun too. It's just been an amazing performance across the board today, and it continues to be as well. I must say, Rowing Canada, there's a lot of great things going on. The last few months have been difficult, of course, with the corona, the impacts of the virus and the training. It's obviously altered the lives of many athletes. It's altered the lives from the business side, whether you're Rowing Canada administration, whether you're World Rowing, the IF, or even the other event organizers, right? It's a challenge for everyone. But as you can see, it's as we've heard, I should say, we've heard from the athletes here today, it's not really impacting them, right? It's changing things, and it's a bit different way of life, but they're still keeping their eye on the prize, and it's impressive to see, and it's really quite reassuring to see that we have that. And on that, folks across the world, this is the legendary Canadian legend as well as Husky legend Will Crothers. Thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here with you, Trof. Great to see you. I'm here on the red planet.
Nice to see you. Yeah, you're on Mars, eh? Elon Musk sent you up there. How you doing?
SpaceX,
nice to see you. Nice to see you. You're looking great. How you feeling?
Feeling a little bit full of lactate right now, but yeah, feeling good, man. How are you?
Good. All good. Just chugging along. Same old. Happy to happy to see you crush it out there, and just another Saturday for you, eh?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we're used to doing 6 by 2K, so this is a shorter session by that metric. But yeah,
Absolutely.
good
That's what
stuff.
I was telling our viewers. We don't know where we're broadcasting, but we've had some athletes from the French Polynesia today, so we're assuming that the islands of French Polynesia are watching, and we've been telling them all about the different race profiles that we've seen, as well as this is just another day in your training. And as you said, this is actually probably an easier than normal day.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, not necessarily easier, but certainly a shorter session. I mean, I got here at 9, and I'm going to be out of here by a little bit after 10, so that's a short Saturday.
Nice.
The waves are rolling in Jordan River, so I might try to go surfing in a bit.
So on that, Will, you got to tell us. I've been hyping you up to the viewers. Tell us about what's been going on. So 2012 silver medal, incredible performance. I was there. I watched it live. 2016 Rio Games, crushed it again. Again, watched it live because I love you that much. And then, what have you been doing since 2016?
Well, I came back straight away after Rio, but I quickly realized that I needed a break after rowing for so long, so I took a year off and went to Whistler and learned how to ski, which was awesome. I also completed my firefighter training, just like basic structural firefighting, and then started to just miss rowing and heard there was a lot of special things going on and a lot of good guys. So yeah, I decided to come back and join up with the squad again and proceeded to get my butt kicked for a couple of months while I tried to get back in shape. And yeah, now here I am.
Nice. And so now, can we call you a firefighter? How does that work?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not yet.
But you could put out a basic kitchen fire.
Yeah, I could probably do that as long as there was the proper fire extinguisher right there with me. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. And so you've been back out west. You're enjoying yourself, and you're happy to be back with T-Paul and the crew.
Yeah. It's great to be back training. We've got an awesome group of guys.
Oh. There you go.
Around me.
So it's probably a good thing. Yeah, it's probably a good thing you're not on the water today.
Yeah, maybe. That just made me realize it. We got this wonderful support team here. Look at this. These guys just came running in out of nowhere. We got
unbelievable.
Our
Sue, a legend, another legend, Sue. Wow.
RCA legends, Michelle Voss, Sue Boogie.
Unbelievable.
Anyways, yeah.
Just getting things.
Getting it done, yeah.
Well,
but we got a great
tell us,
group of guys here, yeah.
Tell us, because the coronavirus, it obviously impacted when you had not been around for that long. So you came back after 2016, you left for a bit, you came back to the team, and then coronavirus hits. So these last few months, how have you been staying focused? And I'm assuming you've been at home a lot more for workouts or needing to do things on your own. How have you been mentally staying on track for qualifying for Tokyo 2020?
Well, when everything got shut down, certainly, like after a World Championships or an Olympics, we always take a pretty big break. So I definitely took some time away from proper training, I guess you could call it, and was just commuting to the beach and socially distancing myself, and biking up and down pathways, and just trying to keep the body ticking over a little bit. But by no means was it training in the sense that you would for an Olympic Games or something, because obviously that date had been postponed. And I mean, at that time, we didn't even have a date for the Olympics. They just, said it was canceled and they were figuring things out. So we were kind of left in no man's land, which, as you can imagine, would be quite an emotional time for any of the athletes, myself included. And especially for me, this could have been one of my last winter trainings last winter, and having to wrap it around, diving back into that, full winter of work again was something that I got my head around. But I mean, we have a great support staff here with our, from our management to the athletes around me and our coaches and, support staff.
Like family.
Super. Yeah. See you, bud. Yeah.
And so
So
have you seen the old guys? Have you kept in touch with some of your former teammates in Huskies? Are they still out
yeah,
there?
yeah,
Or?
for sure. It was nice to actually, like, we had a bit of time off, obviously, when things shut down. Our coach wanted us to have a pretty good mental break so that we could come back
Yeah.
and not feel like, we were burnt out before we even got going. So I did get to see a couple of guys from 2012 and some of the alumni from 2008, and spend some time with those guys. And
Nice.
it's amazing all the support that you get, and they're all super sympathetic to what we're going through. And from their perspective, they can't even imagine it. But it's just a day in the life for us, I guess, at this point. But yeah.
And so you're focused. You're staying on track. And what's the plan the rest of the day? You're gonna go. Well, you say you're gonna go surfing, but I'm assuming you're gonna grab a Tofino brew or something first. What's the plan?
Yeah, definitely gonna go home and recover a little bit, get some food in me. But yeah, it's a 5-star day with 10-footers coming in, I think. So should be pretty good. I'm excited to go get into the waves, and that'll be my cool down, swimming around in the waves for a little while.
Absolutely. Well, listen, man, you are a legend. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you want to cool down and get on with your day. I certainly miss seeing you around. I miss seeing your ginormous truck pull up. I don't know what happened to that thing, but I hope it's okay. Thankfully, I never had to drive standard on that thing, although you did trust me for like 30 minutes, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, it was. I sold that truck. I have a little grocery getter now, so it's a little bit better on gas.
Oh boy. Yeah, good. Exactly, the environment. All right, well, take care of yourself. Have a good holiday this year, and I can't wait to welcome you back to Europe for some big racing next year.
Yeah, man. Hopefully soon. All right, you take care, bud.
Absolutely. Take care. Thanks, dog.
All right. Later.
All right, folks, there we are. Will Crothers, a legend. He's a longtime family member of Rowing Canada, and what an interview, and always great to hear from him. He's an adventurous guy. Here we are, race 5, getting into the second half here of our program, and what a time it's been. Whether the wind has blown a few things away, but you can see here our team keeps them on track. We're ready to go with race 5. As I've been saying all along, the stop rowing cue comes up. The race, our friends at Time Team do globally manage these races. So the 4 NTC athletes in the Dome, and then as well from our friend David Wilson from Essex, England. So not far from myself over here. Kevin Scott, again, from Tahiti. Wow. Okay, so they are awake. That's great. Rowan from Victoria, and then Ephraim from Victoria as well. So a few people across the world, as well as locally, joining us here for race 5 on this must be windy day in Victoria, BC, as well as around the world. Here we go. The stop rowing cue has been issued. You'll see the race up on the screen beside me, and we'll get ready to get underway right here as the athletes go into the starting sequence. And just like that, we're underway, and the athletes have begun their race. So we, again, for those of you who've been joining us, you're probably getting into the rhythm here. You understand what you're seeing. For those of you just joining us for this race, because you've either just woken up or just finished your Saturday grocery shopping, if nothing's open on Sundays, like some places in the world, you're joining in here, and we're 1,900 meters to go in our 5th race of the day today. Top right corner, you're looking at the cumulative time, unofficial until later today, but again, giving you an idea of what we're looking at in terms of times overall. Then you'll see the splits in the red far number on the far right. That's an average of what the athlete is pulling on that stroke to complete 500 meters. And so you know a 2,000 meter race is made up of 4 500 meters. You want that split to be as low as possible. To the left of that, you'll see the stroke rate. So that's the amount of strokes that the athletes are taking per minute. And that's also a great way to see the race profile and understand exactly what's going on in that athlete. We've seen some incredible profiles today, all right? I've said that many times, but I just can't tell you how impressive it's been to see some of these athletes go down. We've seen tall athletes struggle to keep the rate low, I should say, if that even makes sense. Struggle to keep the rate low. They've been crushing it pushing the high 30s And we've seen some other athletes maintain some mid-30 paces and equally dominate it. And exactly that is what we're seeing here today from Karen, Rebecca, Suzanne, and Ivy. Again, these athletes are training together, right? So some of them may have been in the qualified women's 8, as well as the women's double. And so I'm not too surprised that we're seeing very similar stroke rates, we're seeing similar race profiles, and we're seeing similar splits. Obviously, as things start to get heated, as we start to move through, you can watch the boats there in the middle. And those boats are going to tell you exactly where the athletes are sitting and where they are compared to others. So you can see Karen in the top from the NTC women, Rebecca and Suzanne around the 8 to 10 meter mark behind. Now, of course, those right now are maybe not your focus, but they will be as we enter the final 500. So keep that in mind. Our friends from BCRC, these are under 19 men. Okay, so although they are dominating the field here, it's almost a race for themselves, right? It's a bit of a different race profile that we're going to see, different athletes, under 19 men compared to senior women. But again, all quite similar in that we're seeing similar stroke rates, we're seeing similar splits, and ultimately this is making this a very exciting race for us today, folks. As we were talking to Will in the last interview, you know, this is another day for them, right? So it's not your typical, if you're a younger athlete, you know, you live up to that moment of racing a 2K, you taper for those few days ahead of time. Once it's done, it's done. You go home, you have some chicken wings, some pizza, you relax, and you probably don't hit it again for another few days. This is not the case for the NTC athletes, and maybe even our friends from VCRC or Tahiti. This is another day, this is another training session, and it's just about putting your body in uncomfortable situations so that when you're at that Olympic starting line, you can perform to your best. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. And it's just been so impressive to watch the calmness, the focus of our athletes. Once the steam calms down a little bit in the dome, because it is a bit hot and humid in there now, we're hoping to get back in there. But for now, it's a bit too steamy with all the athletes. And that's also another factor, right? What are your surroundings right now? I don't know what it's like in Tahiti. I should look at this point, but I'm sure it's quite beautiful. In the Erg Dome, though, we're looking at 2 to 4 Celsius. It's a bit cold. There is some humidity to it, but you need to learn to adapt. And for that, we need to be able to understand that any circumstances are rowable to a certain extent. Of course, the wind may be getting a little crazy, but you saw Will handle the wind with no problem when it blew the tent away, right? So it's all about learning to adapt to your surroundings and performing on that day. And that's what's by putting your body in these uncomfortable situations and pushing yourselves to this extreme is going to get you set up to perform on race day. And as I've been blabbing on about what we're seeing here and perhaps what the athletes are going through getting to this point, we're less than 700 meters to go. Ivy, the last one of the training center to come through the 700 meter mark. And we're all now starting to see that separation, right? We're probably looking at a boat length or two in some of these cases. Karen dominating the NTC field, Rebecca about 20 meters back, Suzanne 24, and 45 we have Ivy from the leaderboard. But again, 550 meters to go. They're all sitting at the same stroke rates, very similar paces. We may see something exciting here happen in terms of the leaderboard. But if nothing else, we are seeing a consistent race. I would be surprised. Suzanne, a veteran in the Canadian rowing world, and knows what she's doing, right? So I would not be surprised if she's got something up her sleeve to come out of here and really give Rebecca a run for her money and make her earn that victory today. Karen, though, I'm sure is sitting quite comfortably. The race pace is there. We're probably not going to see that too much change of a split or a stroke rate primarily, but we may for the last 300 meters as they come to the finishing. Rowan taking the lead here across his field with Rowan, Kevin, David, and Ephraim sitting down there. Again, the fairly good separation. He's sitting in a confident pace. And again, what is he racing for today, right? We're not sure. He could be here to win it, or maybe he's looking for his own personal best. So you can never stop, never give up. It's you against the clock. And that's what can also be so stressful in these types of virtual racing scenarios. It's you against the clock. So here we are, folks, coming into the last 200 meters, just crossed the 6-minute mark, and we're hoping to see some sub-6:30 finishes, which we're definitely going to see unofficially, I think, from Rowan. I should say definitely and unofficially, but I'm hoping that Rowan can show us something here in the last few strokes. And we have our NTC women coming down the course, all approaching the 100-meter mark, what's likely to be a very exciting finish for them. As I was telling you, Suzanne, she knows what she's doing, right? She's beside Rebecca, she's nearby, and I'm sure she's going to give her a little bit of run of her money. So out of all of this, 2,000 meters, 6 minutes and 45 seconds comes down to these last 10 seconds. Karen on the leaderboard, nice and finished. Rebecca and Suzanne to the last minute, and I'm going to give it to Suzanne unofficially, but there you go, tied at the same time, tapped off by Ivy, and our friend Ephraim finishing off the group here. These 8 wonderful rowers all coming out here, crushing it on this Saturday morning. There you have it, folks. Race 5 in the books. What a race, if you ask me. Because again, this is a learning opportunity as an athlete, whether you're racing, whether you're watching as a viewer. It's also amazing to see the consistency, right? And again, that consistency is what separates our national team athletes, our Olympians, and it really puts this on the table of just another day, right? This is training at its best. And on that note, here we come to our next interview. That was very quick. Thank you for coming so quick and being prepared so quickly. We appreciate that. How are you feeling?
Right now, I don't really know. I mean, obviously my body hurts. I think I'm feeling a bit of adrenaline still, so that's good.
Yes, okay. Very nice. And thanks for joining us so quickly. That was quite the race. And tell us, now, is this another Saturday for you? What would your normal Saturday have looked like compared to today doing a 2K?
Yeah, well, normally we do 2 sessions on a Saturday, so we'll have some kind of squad pieces or 2K runs on the course or something on Saturday mornings, followed by a cross train. So doing a 2K on Saturday morning is very different than what we'd normally be doing. I mean, it's a lot less volume and a lot more nerve-wracking. But now we're done.
Exactly. Now you're done. Exactly. So it's just there you go. You maybe you kind of have a little bit of a break, but you'll pay for it on Monday. So there you go.
I know. I feel like I'm going to start paying for it in an hour, to be honest.
Yeah. I know. This is so right now you're broadcasting to the world, so no pressure. But I've been telling our viewers that it's hard to say how much time after the pain really is going to set in, but that the fact that you guys are joining us so quickly, we're quite lucky, because ultimately your focus now is to get that lactic acid out to cool down and to get ready for your next session. So what's going in your mind post-race? What are your kind of steps? I know you have Sue has given you lots of stuff. Your coaches have given you lots of stuff. What's your post-race kind of process?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think for each person it's slightly individual. For me, I like to immediately post-race just try to get moving as quickly as possible. So just light rowing on the erg until I can kind of get my heart rate down and my breathing back to normal.
Yep.
Then ideally, I'd like to do anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes of just some walking or light C6 just to kind of flush the lactate. So I think after I chat with you, I'm going to keep doing a bit of cool down. And then got to make sure you get the right nutrition in. So I have a recovery smoothie and some snacks just to replenish my fuel stores, I guess. And then in a couple hours, like later on today, I'll probably do a light flush again, something half an hour, quite light, just to make sure that I've kind of gotten my body cooled down properly, so that hopefully on Monday morning I'm not still really sore. Right,
okay. And so tell us about this. So I believe your score is official now, 6:42 flat, 0.0. How's that for you? How do you feel coming out of that, given it's November, Saturday morning, it's like 2 degrees Celsius. What are you thinking?
6:42 is still quite a ways off of my PB. So as far as just a blank number, I think I am capable of going quite a bit faster. But at the same time, I have to take into account the time of year and the sort of lack of erg prep that we've done moving into this. I'm really proud of my approach, my warm-up, and sort of my mental strategies throughout that test. So, yeah, there's aspects of it that I'm really proud of, and I'm sort of happy with my start and my finish. But moving into the Olympics next year, I'd like to see myself get closer to my PB and shave some more seconds off for sure.
Yep, absolutely. And so speaking of the Olympics, I mean, you're training, everything's going, 2020 is on track, you have boats qualified, you're focused on Tokyo 2020, and then Corona hits and everything changes. Well, how have you stayed focused and even in the early stages when you couldn't train with your teammates, you had to stay home. How have you stayed on track there?
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna lie, it definitely was challenging at the beginning. Sort of at the end of March and beginning of April when everything kind of went up in flames and we found out about the delay, and we had a couple months where we were separated, like you said, and that was really tough. I think it was really important to make sure that emotionally and mentally everybody was feeling quite stable. So that was my priority initially, is just to get my mind in the right place. And Rowing Canada was kind enough to issue us like the ergs and the bikes and the equipment that we would need to train at home on our own. So for the first couple months, we trained at home as best we could and tried to use our virtual platforms to keep in touch as a team as much as we could. But I think it was kind of nice to have a little bit of the pressure taken off in those first couple months to get your mind in the right place. And then at the end of June was when we sort of all started to come back together. And so now we've been training as a team for a couple months now. And yeah, it's definitely very different having the Olympics moved a year, and every day is not sunshine and roses.
Yeah.
But we're trying to use each other as emotional support, and now the target has moved, and we just have to be really smart about how we approach each day, each week, to make sure that we're all mentally in the right place and physically gaining towards next summer.
Right, absolutely. And I think probably my last question, because for me this is a fun fact, and I was even equally as surprised when I learned this about you. So, in fact, tell us where you're originally from.
I was born in Montego Bay, Jamaica, so I'm a dual citizen. My dad is Jamaican and my mom is Canadian. So I was born in Jamaica, but I got my Canadian citizenship through my mom. And yeah, so that's sort of what brought me to Canada, is my hunt for going to the Olympics. And Jamaica doesn't have a rowing team quite yet, so yeah.
Unbelievable. And of course you started in London, Ontario, which I don't know is the warmest place in Canada, and you moved to Victoria with the hope of some warmth maybe, but not happening.
Yeah, I mean, well, Victoria is
Very nice.
definitely warmer overall, that's for sure. But the only sort of the flip side to that coin is in London it gets cold enough that you just can't go outside at all, and all your training is done inside. Victoria gets just cold enough that you can still stay outside, and so you kind of have to suffer in that just above freezing temperature. But yeah, I'm a big fan of BC, so I'm really happy with that we made the move out here. So
Nice. That's hilarious. That's actually a really good point. At least in London, it was like a no-go. It was a go or no-go.
like
Now
once
it's
it
like,
gets
yeah, we're gonna.
-10, you're inside. Now I'm like hovering around 1 to -3 outside in the rain. But I don't know. We like to joke that it just builds mental toughness, and nobody else in the world is rowing like that. So
Absolutely. It's absolutely true. It's all about getting to that starting line next summer.
yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you very much for joining us. It was a pleasure to see you, to hear from you. And we're looking forward to. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. We'll see you in Europe. And if not Europe, we'll see you in Tokyo next summer.
Fingers crossed.
Absolutely, for you. Take care. See you soon. There you have it, folks. Christine Roper, another Canadian legend on the team, been around a long time and just really been part of the team and keeping the spirits high. As you can see, we're talking about, as the athletes are racing, we're talking about what's going through their mind, putting yourselves in those awkward positions all the time to be able to perform on race day. And there you have it, right? It's 1 to 3 Celsius. It's pouring rain. I remember those days in Victoria. The winter in Victoria is painful when it comes to weather, and it's all about getting to that starting line in a comfortable pace where you can look beside you and you're confident that you've done what you need to do to get there, right? And we've seen that today, and I'm really happy to see how positive all the athletes have been on that. So let's take a quick break here. You guys all go grab a drink, whether it's apéro at this point or a coffee, a tea, maybe a midnight milkshake. I don't know. We'll be right back with race six, the third last race of the day. Some exciting contenders I see here coming on the field, and here we go. So see you very soon.
Time Team Regatta Systems, the timing partner of many events worldwide.
There we are, folks. We're back at it here for our third last race of the day. Trofym here, joining you live from Lausanne, Switzerland, the Olympic capital, as we prepare for the third race of the day. So for those of you just joining us, we're a little disappointed because we've had an amazing show so far today, and it's been an incredible performance by the athletes. For those of you that were with us all morning, all evening, wherever time it is, thank you, and we certainly have a lot of exciting things to come here in race 6 on the board. Just to remind you, so what we're seeing here is the national team center athletes, the first 3 at the top, and then the following athletes are joining us from across the globe. We've had Tahiti, French Polynesia, the United States, Canada. We're truly a global race. And at this point, we're having some exciting performances across the board. We may even get a look into the Erg Dome in Victoria, BC at the training center. Depends if the steam has calmed down a little bit and how things are going. But we may see exactly how the athletes are maintaining the COVID measures that have been put in place by Sport Canada and as well the Chief Medical Officer. We'll also see exactly what's going through their mind. But right now, let's focus on the screen here and exactly what's happening. The athletes have been issued that stop rowing command. The fans need to start slowing down. And what's incredible is this is happening across the world, okay? This isn't just a race in Victoria, BC that we're now seeing on the screen. The same thing is happening in the French Polynesian, in Boston, in New York. And this is incredible, folks. So here we are, race number 6, bout underway, and it's been clear for launch. So at the top of the field, we have, Sydney Payne from Brentwood College, so just down the street, also a national team athlete now. We have Christina Walker, and we have Morgan Ross rounding out the National Training Center women's team. In fact, Morgan from the great 905 region of Ontario. I know her brother Ryan very well, and I had the pleasure to both race with him and against him in my many, many years of rowing along his side. The 905 stays strong to the Ross family. Lastly, in terms of the NTC, we have Patrick Keane. So now Patrick is a lightweight men's rower. He's been around quite some time, rows with the Latimer family, Max Latimer, most notably, legends in the sport of lightweight rowing. And really, between Patrick and his teammate Max, we're looking for some great things out of Tokyo 2020 from these gentlemen. Lastly, then in the bottom, rounding out the field, we have Christoph, Ellie, and Kiana, all joining us from across the world. Exactly, Victoria, Calgary. Again, from Tahiti, we have Christoph. So I don't know what's going in Tahiti, but I feel like at this point we need to broadcast the next Canadian Indoor Virtual Challenge from Tahiti. And personally, I have no problem with doing that there. So you'll see on the screen now, we have the athletes, the NTC athletes. So Morgan, Sydney, Christina, and Patrick, they're pounding out a session. And in classic erging fashion, as more athletes have finished their race, they're calming down, they're out of the zone. You see the fans behind them having a look, all following protocol in terms of masks, distancing. Everything has been approved before this, and it's quite impressive to see. So even with these conditions, we have the athletes, they're getting into a rhythm. And what's quite cool here is you have 3 senior women and then 1 lightweight senior male. And they, up until maybe a few seconds ago, they were all quite similar to each other in terms of a nice stroke, a big rhythm, and quite cool to watch, actually, quite beautiful, if you will. On the screen now, it's important to see that, let me just give you some background. If you've just joined, they have the cumulative score in the top right, so that's going to be unofficial until later today. You'll see the splits across the board on the far right, and that's telling you exactly what that person is pulling to accomplish 500 meters at that point in time. You'll see their rate, which also gives you a great idea of their race profile, and then you'll see their boats. And as expected, Patrick, a very dominant lightweight rower. He's out in front there, but again, he's a lightweight male rower. Above him, he has the 3 senior open women, and them all quite tight across each other. I believe they all know each other. Morgan, Sydney, Christina, they've been rowing together for quite some time. They have different accomplishments on the national and global stage. Top-notch athletes all there and pounding out a good session today. What's really been impressive is the race profiles today, right? I keep going back to that, and I can't stress it enough. It's an amazing opportunity for you as a viewer, whether you're an athlete, a national athlete aspiring to be a national athlete, or even just a CrossFitter or someone new to the sport. You're getting a good spread of what exactly it takes to get to that 2,000 meter mark. Whether it's a sprint at the beginning, a more base pace, and then another sprint, whether it's a long and steady pace, which is exactly what we're seeing out of Patrick today, or whether it's a sprint interval type piece, which we saw out of Gabby in our first race today. It's a wonderful spread, and it's amazing to see there's different ways to get to that finish line today. Now, what we're seeing today, to be remembered, is that it's all erging, right? This is on the screen, and at the end of the day, although these competitors, if you will, teammates, competitors are against each other, they're also against the clock. And that's something that is always looming above you, right? What you always want to get your personal best. And that's key here, and that's what we're seeing today. Just because Patrick or even Morgan is out in the lead doesn't mean that they need to settle. They need to perform their best, and we're seeing Patrick do that at a 30.8. Pretty classic of a lightweight rower to be high, and not surprising, because that's how they keep that fan spinning, just like Trevor was telling us. Tap, 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 make it feel high, long and strong strokes, but at a high rhythm. If we can now, we're gonna listen in to see exactly what's going on in the erg dome. I'm not quite sure if we can do that, but if we do, you'll get that sense of the breathing. Breathing is key in rowing, okay? You're at this catch, you're at the finish. Your body needs to get in a rhythm. You need to get in the mental zone to how you're gonna get through these 2,000 meters without blowing up. And as we see here, the last 500 meters, Patrick isn't doing anything different. I'm sure his teammate Max, who he rows a double with, has embedded into him this strong, fast, high rate, and that's exactly what Patrick's doing today. And I'm sure Max is watching this proudly to see his teammate. With the women, Morgan, Sydney, and Christina, we're seeing them nice, long, similar paces. Again, they probably rowed together. They probably qualified one of the boats together, and they will row together in Tokyo. These are Tokyo athletes, folks. We are going to see these people at the next Olympics, and that's impressive because on this cold November Saturday, you can imagine what it's going to be like thinking back to that next summer at the Tokyo Olympics. At the bottom of the screen there, as I said, you'll see our athletes joining us from across the world at this global race. They're all part of the mix. They're seeing these other athletes on their erg screen, and it's an incredible experience for someone from Tahiti, for instance, or from other parts of Canada like Calgary, Victoria, to be going against these national team athletes. And that's exactly what's made the first ever Canadian Indoor Rowing Challenge so unique. Coming up here, Patrick is just finishing off strong here. You see him pounding it out, but you see the athletes and the coaches around respecting the distance, masks on, staying safe, and cheering from a distance. Patrick has done his part. I'm cheering from all the way over here in Switzerland. Well done, Patrick, and congrats to you. Just finishing off the race now, we have Morgan, Sydney, and Christina. You'll see that number mark. So Sydney now just taking the lead over Morgan. But if I know a Ross, I know that they will pull ahead. Let's see if Morgan can hold off Sydney and get to that final line. It's going to be tight, folks. 3 split, just a few points off from each other. Unofficial scores there on the right, with Christina rounding out the pack from the National Training Center. And down in the bottom part of our field, we have the athletes joining us across the world. Long, strong rhythms. Ellie bringing up the rate here. Obviously a rower, Victoria City Rowing Club. She knows what she's doing, and that is what to be expected in a finale like this. Rounding out the pack, everyone's moving into that last 100 meters of the race. And not surprised here to see some strong finishes, both in rate and split. With all the scores, the final score, the last 50 meters, Kiana joining us from CRC Calgary Rowing Club, a long-standing club in Canada, and definitely some dominant rowers have come out of there. Important to know, Kiana is an under-17 woman. So again, we've seen here Olympic athletes all the way down to under 17, all here with us today, and it's quite impressive. Well, I am quite, again, excited, but also getting a little sad as we near the end of our first annual, maybe it won't be annual, biannual, I don't know, our first ever Canadian Indoor Rowing Challenge, broadcasting across the globe today with cameras in Victoria, BC at our National Training Center with our national team, Olympic athletes, who we've been so fortunate to hear from already and continue to hear from as we go on to our next interview coming up soon. Following that, we will have, oh, we're here. Here we go. Welcome. Hello. How are you?
Oh, you know, post 2K feels, but I'm doing well.
As good as you could be.
Yeah.
On a Saturday morning. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. I had some questions for you. However, I received some breaking news, which actually altered my questions. And it sounds as though rumor on the street is you're the team baker.
Yep, that is true. I think I've earned that name for myself.
Really? Okay, so tell us more, because when I lived in BC, I must say there was very good bakeries. There was a lot of good bakeries on Victoria Island especially. So for you to take that title, what's your specialty? What are you crafting up there in the kitchen?
I think is that the trick is remembering birthdays. So every time someone on the team has a birthday, bring them a treat and they'll love you forever. So
wow,
everyone's got
a favorite.
Yeah, but cupcakes are the big popular item right now.
Oh, okay. Wow. What kind of cupcakes? What, we talking like red velvet, like carrot cake?
We've had the works. We've had red velvet. I have had carrot cake. I've made a vegan chocolate one. So pretty much any flavor you can think up, I'm down for the challenge.
Wow. That's unbelievable. So it's just a, workflow for you is wake up, perform on the water, and then get to the kitchen and perform there too.
Yeah, I find baking is a bit of a release from everything. I can sort of just focus on it and forget about the rowing world for a little bit. So it's nice to have something totally different to focus on.
Nice. And so, okay, tell us then, obviously, so you were training for Tokyo. You've been around for a long time. So, Olympic cycles are nothing new to you. You're comfortable. You're getting ready for this past summer. And all of a sudden, the virus hits, things change. What was your initial reaction? How did you take it? The changes that came into your daily routine?
It was hard. It was definitely tough to wrap your mind around a whole nother year when you went from being 100 days out to 400 something.
Yeah.
But I mean, being competitive athletes and having worked for the past 8 years, better part of a decade now, and going at it for the second time, it never really crossed my mind in a fully realistic sense that I wouldn't keep going. So it was hard, but I mean, as an athlete, you're like, okay, I guess that's the new plan. Let's just recalibrate and move forward.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so you're feeling what has been, I guess, has during the corona, have you just gotten better at baking, or have you found another hobby? What has been what you've done?
I've always really loved baking. That started in university, but
Yeah.
I think it's coronavirus has really taught me to. I mean, I've always been good at time management, but to really make a schedule for myself when someone else doesn't have a schedule set for me. So receiving a program and having all day to get it done, it's easy to sort of sit on the couch until 11 o'clock and be like, well, I have 3 workouts left to do for the day now. So I would say that quarantine and COVID has really taught me to be regimented with my time when I'm the one that has to set my own schedule. So it's been a challenge, but I mean, in a sense, I really liked quarantine too. I know that's an unpopular thing to say, but I live in a 500 square foot apartment, and it is small, but my husband and I both like worked from home, I suppose, in quarantine, as much as he's working from home. And as much as I was worried that it would be a risk to have us living in that small space 24/7 together, it was actually a lot of fun, and it really was a fun experience to be able to spend that much time together. So
That's cool. Wow, that's amazing that you've taken the positive out of it and you've made it happen. So now tell us, because Suzanne, you went to UVA, correct?
correct.
So you've moved. Yeah, exactly. To all your old teammates joining, watching you. So you've been all over. You were in Virginia for a few years. You were in London, Ontario. Now you're in Victoria, BC. What's been your favorite, if you can think back to college?
Ooh, it's hard. I'm ever the diplomat, but I would have to say that each one has its favorite for a different reason. I loved being at UVA because growing on the Ravenna is gorgeous. Sort of being tucked in the mountains and all of the pretty fall colors. I loved it, and working with Kevin Sauer was a lot of fun. So I miss UVA every day. We had a great time, but I think when we were in London working with Michelle at the beginning of the quad, we really found our small little niche group and were able to work and get a lot of good stuff done. And I think it was nice to have our own private facility there. Obviously, the waterproofing in the winter is not ideal, so I think that's a great positive for out here in Victoria. And to have us all together, it's nice to feel that one team environment. Even in COVID, it's difficult, but I think things like this, where we can come together as a team as much as possible in a safe way, it's definitely a positive for being out here together.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm happy to hear that at least this indoor rowing challenge has come out positive for you. And as an athlete, you're the first one to say that you love it. So I'm going to remember that next year.
Ooh, love it as a team together, not necessarily ripping a 2K Saturday morning.
Yeah, fair. Okay, so as we come now, going into the winter months, looking forward to next summer. What's kind of your next big milestone? What are you most looking forward to in the next 9 months or so?
I think I'm really looking forward to having it all come together. I think we put in the hard winter training months, and you build your confidence up. And I think when you get into the spring and start really seeing all the pieces fall into place is when it gets really exciting. Because that big day is coming, whether or not you're ready for it. So it's exciting when you can see your progress start to pay off.
Absolutely. And you know it well. I mean, you're a pillar of the women's national team. So it's always a pleasure to see you and to hear from you. So on that, I must thank you very much. Thank you for joining so quickly after your race. I know you probably, as much as you want to go and cool down, you probably want to go and bake something. So we'll leave you to it. And we look forward to seeing you in Tokyo.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Ciao, ciao. Take care. On that, folks, it's about that time to go grab a coffee, milkshake, protein shake, or apéro. So we will be back live very soon.
This event is run using Time Team Regatta Systems, making virtual racing possible.
And here we are, folks, joining us from across the world. Trofym here, commentating live from Switzerland to the world, most notably our friends in Victoria, British Columbia, from the National Training Center, and then across the world at this point, we've confirmed some athletes competing. So this will be our first race without any National Training Center athletes, just as we do some transition and cleaning in the Erg Dome, keeping the corona measures up to par and approved. And then we get ready here for our global race. 3 athletes joining us, two from Victoria City Rowing Club, as well as we have Kaylee joining us from Thunder Bay. Same provinces where I'm from, Ontario, but quite north. For me, even too north. So thank you, Kaylee, for joining us from the northern parts of Ontario today. Oliver and Ellington, everyone, all 3 of them through the race here. It's off without any hitches, it seems, and we have our athletes coming down 1900 meter mark just approaching. For those of you that have just joined us, I feel sorry for you because we've had an incredible morning, afternoon, and evening together watching some incredible races. But if you have just joined because you've just finished your groceries or you are getting ready for your evening apéro, thanks for joining us. And here on the screen, let me give you a rundown of what you're seeing. So specifically, the time in the top right, that's the cumulative time, unofficial until the end of the race. On the far side, you see a number, we call that the split. And that's the time it's taking these athletes to finish a 500 meter piece on average. 4 of those numbers are what make up your cumulative score. Then to the left of that, you see the splits, the rates. That's the amount of strokes that we're seeing athletes take per minute. And again, that's what gives you a good indication of the race profile, exactly what that athlete's doing and what we're going to see in terms of split. Typically, a higher rate will mean a lower split and vice versa. But that's not always the case. And depending on the maturity or experience of the athlete, that can maybe differ a little bit. Today, though, I must say, whether it's been the under 17 category all the way up to the Olympic category, we've had incredible races. And across the board, this has been not only a pleasure to commentate, a pleasure to watch, but I urge you as spectators and fans alike that are out there watching, you are seeing some top-notch rowing and just a variety of it. Yes, we're all looking for that final score today. We're all looking to beat the clock, but that's not what this is just about. And when we spoke with Christine Roper from before, she told you, right? I mean, that score, 642, may not be her best, certainly not her worst, an incredible score for an Olympic athlete like that, but there was the intangibles that got her to that score. And again, these types of races, this type of setting, it's cold, it's in the Erg-Dome, it's a Saturday morning, it's November. These are the types of scenarios that if you can push through this, if you can conquer this, when you're at the starting gate in the summer, in the rain, or even in the sun, you're ready to go. And it's these building blocks that make you feel confident to be able to do what you do best. Here on the screen, we're seeing just that. Kaylee, Oliver, and Ellington all on the board and giving us an amazing race. All of these athletes, let me confirm, we have a mix of under 19 and under 23 athletes on the board here with us today. And so it's fantastic that we're able to see some solid mid rhythms, which is what that stroke rate is telling us right now, sitting to around the 30 mark, which typically, you know, maybe it's a little lower, but again, what is that athlete's strength, right? Perhaps they are a longer, strong stroke athlete where they can just push through it and be able to keep the rate a bit lower. Maybe the less breathing. We talked a lot about breathing before. Maybe taking less breaths because you're at that lower rate. It makes that athlete feel more comfortable, and in turn, they're going to get a better score, at least to perform better to what they can. Other athletes, higher rate, more breaths, maybe a little antsy, but again, that's going to be able to get you in a place to perform to your strengths. And ultimately, that's what you need to do when you're racing the clock, but also, of course, when you're on the water. Here today, we've seen an amazing combination of athletes both based in Victoria at the training center competing, but we've also seen these virtual athletes. So what you're literally seeing on the board here, whether you're in the French Polynesian, whether you're down the road in Switzerland, or whether you're in the 905 of Ontario, you're seeing all these different athletes compete virtually together. And that's exactly what the Canadian Indoor Challenge has done this time around and has been so unique as a first for Canadian and Rowing Canada. What these athletes are seeing are actually each other on their screen, on their monitor, and they're racing each other from across the world. So whether Kaylee is in the frozen tundra of Thunder Bay, I should say, Thunder Bay, get it? Yes. Or it's all the way Victoria City Rowing Club of Ellington and Oliver, probably just down the road from the training center. An amazing performance, and as we approach the middle part of the third 500, I can assure you that all three of our athletes here are feeling the pain. They want that glass of water, they want it to be done, and I can assure you they are quite close to being done here today, and that's going to be an exciting finish for them. Again, we don't necessarily know their best performances, and we don't know what these athletes are here to achieve today in addition to that final score. But whether it's a long, good rhythm, whether it's better race preparation, or whether it's simply executing a 2K in November, this is what these athletes are looking to do. And that is only they know that. Probably their coaches, but internally they know what they're working towards. And we're seeing, whatever it is, some solid results here for other athletes across the board. We're seeing consistency in the rate, which is key. You don't want to be jumping from a 25 to a 35 to a 45. You're going to waste a lot of energy. We're seeing consistency in rate. We're seeing fairly consistent splits, which means they probably have a race plan, which for those of you who aren't rowers or are new to rowing, you need or you know about having a race plan and the critical aspect that plays in a success in your success in your 2K. So across the board, we're approaching the 250 meter mark for Oliver Ellington. Kaylee just approaching the 500. Again, female rowing versus male rowing. So to be expected, but both equally strong and very impressive for their age groups. What is going through their mind? I'm expecting to probably see Oliver Ellington start to take it up a little bit. We're seeing that 33 already raised a bit above. They're starting to flex up a bit, and that's normal, right? They're coming to the end. The finish is in sight. Soon they're going to be approaching that 1,000 third digit, 1 third digit, and soon they're going to be 2-digit meters left. And I can't tell you how positive that is to see when you're less than 100 meters. But until now, the classic 250-meter sprint is upon us. We're seeing 34s, 35s, 37s, and we're seeing the splits come down or maintain. Now, you might say to yourself, why are they perhaps saying maintaining splits? That's also probably because it gets tougher to maintain splits as you go on. So the rate is probably compensating. There we are, Oliver and Ellington, unofficially very close. I don't know if these guys know each other, if they train together, what they do, but this is it. That was a bang-on race plan, both of them together, and I am sure they are proud of their results wherever they're sitting in Victoria, BC now. Kaylee from Thunder Bay coming into that 250-meter mark. Again, rate is starting to go up a little bit. We did see her rate go down a little bit there, but nothing alarming. It's still quite within a reasonable amount, and probably getting her to that last 250-meter marks. Now, you can imagine if you were on the water, this is when the buoys turn red. And any good coxie, Terry Paul, who we had before for an interview, will tell you that that is probably one of the most motivating things you could say to your team and to your boat, that the red buoys are upon us. And that is when you know it's no turning back. The athletes are coming to the final 100 meters or so of the race. The crowds are in the stands, and unfortunately today our athletes don't have crowds cheering for them, although something tells me the athletes at the National Training Center have their coaches and other fellow athletes cheering them on. But at home, I don't know, maybe Kaylee's family is cheering for her, maybe her dog is wondering what she's doing, maybe he's barking at her, I don't know, but I'm sure she has a fan base ready to cheer her as she approaches the final 50 meters of the race. And she's coming to the end. I'm sure that she's going to, enjoy the rest of her Saturday after she gets to these final 50 meters. A solid rate increase to that 30-31. Good splits coming down. And just about to round out the pack, unofficially coming in the time, and you'll see in the top right. And there you have it, folks. Our 7th race of the day finished right there. Unofficial times and scores, and very impressive nonetheless. So, wow, just like that, I have the famous Patrick Keane in front of me. I'm shocked. I was not aware, but you know what? No, I'm kidding. I knew exactly what coming up. Look at this, sir. How are you? You look nice and warm and cozy in your flannel.
Yeah, I'm heating up right here.
You're heating up. Yeah. Well, I can tell you that Erg Dome is heating up thanks to your performance.
I did on purpose. I tried. A little bit.
You gave it all. So just to give you some perspective, you're currently broadcasting to the entire world. We have people joining from the French Polynesian on the beach all the way through to Calgary and the tundras of Thunder Bay. So we're happy to have you. That's all I could say.
Thank you so much for having me, Trofym. It's great to be here. I wouldn't dream of being anywhere else right now.
On a Saturday morning in November.
Yeah, November.
Absolutely.
That's time.
Absolutely. So, bro, it's great to have you. Tell us, how's it been going? I know things. I saw you last summer in Austria. You did a fantastic job on the water there with Max, and now you started going back to training. All of a sudden, Corona hits. What's been going through your mind? How have you been dealing with it the last 8 months? And let's be real here. As a lightweight male rower, how have you restricted yourself from eating, being home all the time?
Yeah, those are two big questions. And first question, like how I've been dealing with it, I've just kind of chilled for the first little bit. It all took like a bit of a process. So first little bit, decentralized, let my nerves chill. And I started wrapping my head around that it's going to be going on for another year. And I knew there's two kinds of people, who one would kind of think as this as being a tough, negative impact on their sport another year. And I also saw the other person being able to use this as an advantage, as more time to prepare for these trials and Olympics coming up. I just thought I got to be the second better person, take the time to improve instead of thinking that it's a dread. The second question about eating, yeah, again, with the first part, I let myself go a bit, but I was running a lot.
for some reason running makes you a little skinny, so it kind of balanced out. And my body's pretty happy right now. It's a happy body, not the best body, but it'll do the job for now, and it's coming back very quickly.
Nice. That's exciting to hear, bro. And because I remember back in the day seeing Max and the boys, and I know how tough it is to stay focused on the eating, stay nutritious, but also, you know, be able to indulge here and there once in a while and continue to perform. So honestly, bro, I give you ultimate respect. I mean, it's impressive what you and Max are doing in the double, and I can tell you Canada's proud of you. Don't you worry.
Thanks, man. We love to hear that. Big thumbs up.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now, you know, we saw a solid race out of you. I mean, it was very impressive, the rate. I mean, I think it's fair to say that's to be assumed with a lightweight rower, right? I mean, you keep a high rate, and it was nice, long, and strong. What were you thinking? You know, what did the race mean to you today? Was this? I know, again, it's another practice. Were you focused on a certain number? Were you focused on just feeling comfortable? What was going through your mind?
Yeah. So I was not at all chasing a number. So I don't know if you actually saw, but I actually taped up my erg to not see the numbers because I really didn't want to chase a number. So
no way.
Yeah, no splits, except if I looked up and squinted, I'd have bad eyes. If I squinted, I could really see my split, but otherwise, I didn't want to chase a number because I wasn't too in touch with the erg. I haven't erged in a while. Yeah. So I just focused on some rhythm and trying to feel what the rhythm on the erg was. And instead of chasing a number, I let the rhythm dictate the number and then fired it up, 800 to go. And that was my race.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's pretty, wow. Okay, so there you go. I mean, I've seen that before, but I could tell you I was never bold enough to not look at my score. So good on you, man. Taping up the screen and going for it. That's the way to do it.
I wouldn't recommend it all the time, but because we haven't heard a lot, I don't want to be dragged down by a number, and I don't want to anchor myself to a number right from the start. Because if I know I do that, I'm going to be anchored the whole way down. So I like the freedom. And if I did erg for a while, I would definitely take the tape off. I know my erg. I know the number. But right now, that's not the case.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's an impressive one. So tell us this, our final question. We got to know, I mean, you've done your race. You're off, I hope, the rest of the day. I hope. Maybe not. Maybe going on a run or something. Yeah. But, okay, so you are. What's the plan? What's the meal? It's a Saturday night. What's going on tonight?
Cool. So fortunately enough, I have a home for family here. So I'm going to pick up some supplies for a family dinner tonight and have a chill. I think we're going to try to make an apple crumble tonight. So I'm going to pick up some apples.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. That's all I really know for right now, but really just chill out.
Yeah. And of course, follow the corona measures in place by the provincial government of British Columbia.
Absolutely. Yes.
Wonderful.
I have to follow those quite closely. And, yeah, I'll be doing this stuff.
Unreal, bro. Well, listen, what's the last question to you? What's the focus now? I mean, obviously we got some big races that you need to tackle next spring, but are you just dead set on the next qualification? Do you have some things in between that you're looking forward to, or how are you staying focused?
Yeah, so I would say staying focused. I want to say we're taking one day at a time, because if we look at the whole picture, it's a big question mark right now with what everything's going on. We don't know what the corona situation is. So for me personally, one day at a time is what's best for me. Big headline goal is that qualification. We have a scheduled World Cup, but we don't know what's going to happen with that. And one day at a time is what's working for me. And hopefully we get that World Cup, but I don't know what's going to happen. And then that World Cup should help us, if we get it, World Cup, to practice for that qualification regatta.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there you've said it. And so I think we're all going to keep our eyes on that. And we can't wait to welcome you back to Europe very soon.
I'll be
All right, bro.
happy to be there. Take care.
Absolutely.
It's good to see you.
You take care of yourself.
Have fun.
Nice to see you, bro. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Yeah. Hello, Canada. Hi, Mom. You're doing great.
There you have it, folks. Hi, Mom. He said it, and let's hope he's saying it in Tokyo next summer, too. What a guy. Absolute wonder to talk to, and good guy, too. I know him and his teammate Max, great guys, really solid, dedicated to the program, to the system, and we should see some pretty exciting things out of them. Young guys, too, and really dominating a very, very difficult field, the lightweight men's double, and some exciting things to come here. Well, I hate to say it, but it's unfortunately our last race of the day, and here we are, the PR category. It is something that is incredible to watch, depending on the category of these athletes. Now, I believe they are all actually, no, so we have PR1, PR2, and PR3. So different categories here. These are our athletes that compete at the Paralympics. In Canada, we have both the Olympic team and the Paralympic team under one federation, which is Rowing Canada, Aviron. And so these guys get the opportunity, these guys and girls get the opportunity to row, train, and do everything together as an integrated team, which is quite special and quite cool as well. And so you'll see here on the screen all the NTC athletes. This is an NTC loaded race, as well as some other friends joining us from Victoria as usual, and other parts of Canada. So what you're going to see here, folks, and we'll go to it on the screen and we'll see it throughout, is different rowing strokes from across the board. The distances as well will be different depending on the athlete. And so it is quite exciting to see and quite impressive, if you ask me. It's a feat to go through, and we will see that very, very shortly, just as we get the dome ready and the athletes in place. So we see you in a few moments.
Time Team Regatta Systems. Take advantage of automated progressions.
Here we are, folks, coming up to the final race of the day, the inaugural Canadian Indoor Rowing Challenge, broadcasting live from across the world, viewed live from across the world, I should say, or at least I like to think so. I'm hosting here from Lausanne, Switzerland, Trofym, longtime rowing fan, sometime rower. Here we have on the screen, ready to go for us, the final race of the day, the PR categories, combined with some other rowers joining from across Canada. And the row has been initiated. All of them are on the board and ready to go. 2,000 meters down the course for everyone. As I was saying before, the NTC athletes are our Paralympic team. And some of them coming with a lot of experience at the Paralympics. Very impressive results across the board for them, as well as the World Championships and international stage overall. Joining us from across the world in Victoria, BC, as well as some other cities in Canada, we have our virtual race together here today. So for those of you, if you don't see, you can see on the screen below what's actually going on in the Erg Dome. All the athletes there throwing their different ways. Some of the athletes in the back you can see doing full strokes, and then others in the front, just upper arms and body, which, let me tell you, if you have not erged yourself, I could not imagine doing a 2K with just my upper body and arms. Absolutely impressive. And to add to that, the splits and the strokes are equally as impressive for what they're doing. So wonderful race here today, and amazing way to round out our first annual indoor challenge today. Later after this race, we're going to hear from their coach, as I was talking to you about him earlier, John Wetstein, a legend in the Canadian rowing world as well as in the Paralympic rowing world too. We're going to hear from him and have him talk us through exactly what we're seeing now on the board. There we have it, the Canadian national Paralympic rowers going through here and just dominating with the different rowing types. And as I was saying, that is based on their category. So depending on the category that they are placed in, that dictates the type of rowing that they are in, whether it's a single, double, four, and then the actual classification overall. On the screen, you'll see our leaderboard with the athletes in their boats. In the top right, as always, we have the cumulative time, which has been getting us through the course today, and that will be unofficial until later today. You have the splits of all the athletes. That's that time figure you see on the far right, and that's exactly what the athlete's pulling at that point in time to get through those 500 meters. Lastly, you'll see the split. I always say this. You'll see the stroke rate, which is exactly how many strokes the athlete is taking per minute. And again, gives us a good indication of what the profile looks like and maybe what they're about to do in terms of dropping the split, finding a race pace, or getting ready for the finish. Just approaching, we have Kyle approaching the lead right now as he approaches the 1,000-meter mark, just in that final 250 before the 1,000-meter mark. And it's important to see here that we have all of his teammates around him. Again, everyone is having their own race plan, right? So they're all focused on something different, whether it's a score, whether it's a rhythm, whether it's a race profile. They've all got something that they're looking to achieve today. And that's what's making this so exciting, both for the athlete, but overall for everyone. The top of the screen here, we're seeing the athletes joining us from across the world, I should say, primarily VCRC. And again, our friends from Tahiti, Nancy, all the way over there in the French Polynesia. Incredible that, again, I'm totally embarrassed. I still don't know what time it is there, but I'm hoping it's a totally crazy time so that it's everything I'm saying about you being up or awake makes sense. Anyways, thank you for joining us from across the world, both athletes and viewers, as we have the final race here today of the Canadian Indoor Rowing Challenge. And breaking news, folks, this just in, it's 9:30 in the morning in the French Polynesia. So finally, it's taken us all day to get it, but we finally have located the time, and that is great to hear. So 9:30 a.m. Sounds about the same time as Victoria, BC, not too far off. So thank you for all of them joining us from there. And we have the race coming into the last 750. The majority of the crew, two of them, Kyle and Jeremy. Jeremy Hall, fantastic rower, lots of experience. He knows exactly what he's doing here. Nothing to be surprised of for him. And we have Kyle approaching the 500-meter mark. Again, base paces. Now, naturally, with Jeremy, you're going to see a bit of a higher stroke rate because of the taking so many strokes with just upper body and arms. But that's absolutely fine. And you also can see that his split is directly correlated to the stroke rate. Well, so very impressive there. Lastly, at the top are rowers joining us from the other parts of Victoria and French Polynesia, just approaching the 750 mark as they get ready to start to think about how they're going to approach this finish, right? Although you're in the zone, you're in pain, it's the lactic acid building up, you're really getting to your limits, you still need to have a plan for how you're going to attack that final 500, right? You can't just hope for the best, if you will. So there we have it, a few teammates, everyone wearing their masks, following identified corona measures. And it's really been that that's made this possible today, folks. And thanks to the administration, we've heard the athletes say it, as well as the athletes, we've been able to put on this very successful and incredible global event. So here we have it, Kyle Fredrickson reaching the final 250, well into the final 250. Stroke rate is going up, splits are impressively low. And I got to tell you, John Wetstein, Coach Wetstein, we're going to hear from him after. He's doing something over there because this is absolutely fantastic. And it's absolutely to be expected. They know what they're doing. The athletes are crushing it. And this is their final strokes before calling it a Saturday to crack open a delicious festive brew or maybe a protein milkshake. There we have it. Kyle Fredrickson, 139. Unofficially 6:45 around that, 6:42 around that. And now we have his teammates from the NTC approaching with our friends from BCRC and the French Polynesia rounding out the final few here. So folks, as I said, unfortunately, this is the final race of the day. And I don't think I could be sadder. I don't think the broadcast crew and timing crew could be sadder. We really wish that we could do this all night long. Unfortunately, though, we can't because we do need to go to bed at some point. There you have it. Jeremy Hall finalized last few strokes there, and as I said, totally dominating him. Kevin Light, you'll see in the screen taking some photos. 2008 Olympian and legend. A pleasure to speak with him, and if you've ever seen his photos, please Google him, Kevin Light. And there you have it, folks. Jeremy and Kyle finishing the race for us in first and second respectively. Bailey rounding out the NTC crew as finishers, and Jesse on just approaching the 250 meter mark. Still to go, just a bit. Stella from BCRC just ahead of her friend Sophia. I'm sure they're friends, but probably not today. Going all the way in and getting ready to finish this race out. Folks, here we go in the final 250 here of the Canadian Indoor Rowing Challenge. It's important to say that the race doesn't stop today. The action and the excitement might be over in a little bit, but that's not to say that the challenge isn't yet over. So please submit your scores. You have all day tomorrow to submit your scores, and anyone from today is going to be entered into the grand prize, or should I say the grand paying prize of an indoor rowing machine. We call that the Concept 2, or you can choose from another one called the Water Rower. Both very exciting, but will for sure give you some pain here or there, let me tell you. So please, folks, submit your scores if you haven't already. Otherwise, get ready for the final few seconds here of the race. Nancy just pulling up to the 50-meter mark, and Jesse approaching the 100 meters mark. An amazing race. You see Jesse in the screen there using trunk and arms. Incredible, folks. Top rate, top split, and she's coming into those final few strokes. I am sure she cannot wait to do her cool down and get this over with. But again, folks, these are impressive races, impressive finishes by everyone. And here we are, the final finish of the first ever Canadian Indoor Rowing Challenge. Clap her through. Jesse finishing off the pack. Look at that. everyone in the room cheering for her, pumped for her. I'm happy for her all the way across the world watching that go down. What an amazing race. What an amazing dedication from these athletes, and all around just an impressive field here today, and an amazing thing to watch. What a pleasure it's been. We're not done just yet, because we're going to hear from a dear friend, my past coach as well, and the current coach of the Canadian Paralympic rowing team. Very soon, John Wetstein. Again, as I said, the challenge doesn't stop today, so please make sure to submit your scores. You have until tomorrow. Do it. And if you haven't, it'll get you used to your radar submissions. So you need to submit those just as much as you need to submit these. And as I said, grand challenge, grand prize, I should say, for an indoor rowing machine, as you wish, shipped directly to your house, so you can get ready yourself for next year's indoor rowing challenge. On that, I think it's just safe to say, before we go to the interview, what a pleasure it's been to have you here today, from across the world, wherever you're joining us. And I'm sure you're just as overwhelmed with excitement at this point. I'm beyond excited to welcome the famous Coach John Wetstein to the Dome. Coach, how is it going?
Trof, how you doing?
Oh, I'm so much better now. It's been to see your glowing face. It's been so long.
It's been too long, Trofym. It's been too long.
Too long.
Look good.
Thank you. Same to you. Same to you. Now, you got to tell us, those performances we just saw were phenomenal. I don't know what you're doing out there with those guys and girls, but it's impressive. It's unbelievable. Even the ones rowing just trunk or arm, how they're, first of all, 2,000 meters with just trunk and arm is incredible. But how are they keeping these rates so high?
Well, I mean, they work hard, Trof. I mean, they're it's like we push them. We push them just like we push all of our athletes. So it's, we're equipping them to the best of our ability. They're in the gym. We're trying to keep them robust. And yeah. They're just working their tails off.
So not to be surprised, as I was saying when I was commentating during the race, it's probably just another day. Nothing surprising for you. It's what you expect out of them.
Correct.
Nice. And for you as a coach, how has it been? I mean, I know you're out there. I know you got all your collectible cars and animals and everything, but how have you been coping with the corona?
Trof, we're doing the best we can. I mean, I think it's just a matter of trying to make the most of whatever opportunities you have each day,
Right.
trying to keep the athletes safe. Obviously there's some restrictions that we're having to deal with, but everybody is, and you figure out what your parameters are, and you try to maximize the work that you can do within those parameters. So there's some things that we're having to deal with in terms of, like, we can't schedule things as freely as we might have before. But if we are willing to work with what we've got, we can still get the work done. So it's challenging, but it's not an insurmountable challenge.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, even the positivity in your voice shows it, and it's quite impressive to see. I mean, from your perspective, you're aiming towards the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics next summer. And before that, is there any key milestones before that you need to do in terms of qualification or just testing your strength? Or
yeah, we need to qualify. So the double, when we were at the World Championships last year, the double was a very new crew. Jesse doesn't have a tremendous amount of experience. So that was kind of a chance for us to just see how it would go and where we were. And we still got a lot of work to do there, without question. Before, unfortunately, we didn't have the complete crew at World, so we didn't have an opportunity to qualify that boat. But we have we're very lucky and very fortunate that an athlete like Victoria Nolan has come out of retirement to help us. So we feel really good about the nucleus of athletes that we have right now and what's possible. They're improving, they're listening, they're working hard. So I think, so qualification is the first order of business for sure. And then, we'll see what happens from there. I mean, we also got Lauren Pearson, our PR1 athlete, who, had some medical setbacks, but we've got him back at training again now, and we'll see what level we can achieve by Christmas, and whether or not a last chance qualifier is an opportunity there as well. So we'll see.
That's quite cool. And I mean, I think it's so amazing now that you have the opportunity for the Paralympic rowers to train alongside both the men and women national team Olympic rowers. I know you've created, when I was out there with you, you created an amazing environment, a very positive and trusting environment. I'm very confident you've done the same with your athletes now. And as you go forward, so of course qualifying is the focus, as you said. Is there anything that, with so much uncertainty as you go forward, how do you stay in the moment and keep everyone motivated? Because obviously, as you said, qualification is looming, unknown is looming. What are you doing as a coach to keep everyone on track and dominating it like we just saw?
I think it's just a process of continually knowing what the objective is, like what you're trying to, what the long game is, and understanding the pieces that you're putting in place every day and every week and every month towards that. So it's mapping all of that out in your head and in the program, and just understanding, okay, what are the victories that we need to achieve today, or what do we need to extract from this session? How is that going to advance us to the next day, to the next week, and where does that fit in terms of the qualification, and then hopefully Tokyo as well. So it's about understanding that process. It's about being process driven, and recognizing that we have to master that. If we're focused on an outcome and we misstep along the way, that's what we're trying to avoid. Just make sure that we get the value out of every day. And it's what I believe. It's what the athletes believe. We talk about it a lot. We remind each other a lot. It's hard for sure, and especially in a COVID environment where there are some restrictions to keep a focus on that and stay positive. But as a group, we're talking all the time, and that's, I encourage that. And there's always dialogue between myself and the athletes, the other coaches as well, about how we just keep putting one foot in front of the other and move forward.
Absolutely. I mean, it's impressive to see, John. I mean, you're doing great stuff, and it's exciting, and I'm happy to hear it. I'm happy to hear that you're well and taking the corona as best as you can. And on that, I wish you the best. Stay healthy, stay strong, and I can't wait to see you hopefully in Tokyo next summer.
You as well. Back to you, Trof, as well. All the same, and it's good to see you. All right.
Nice
Take care
to
of
see you,
yourself.
Coach. Thanks. Take care. You too.
Okay. Cheers.
Folks, there you had it. I mean, two top-notch coaches, both from our Olympic and Paralympic team, doing some great stuff. And we've seen some great stuff here today from the national team athletes, as well as athletes joining us across the world, right? I mean, we've had rowers, we've had CrossFitters, we've had new to rowing athletes. We've had an amazing spread. And I think no better way to finish the day than with our final interview. And that is going to be with Jeremy and Bailey, both of which who we just saw erg a very few moments ago. Quite impressive, and as I've been saying all day, we try to give them some time to cool down and grab a breath before they come on to the hot seat. But we're going to put these two to the test right away. So that's coming up in just a few moments. Again, as I said, the challenge goes till tomorrow. So please submit your scores. Don't forget, that is key. And we hope that you've enjoyed yourselves today, both watching as a fan, as a spectator, or even as a rower, being able to see. And here we have it, the final interview of the day. Jeremy and Bailey, welcome. Thank you for joining us very few moments after your race.
Thanks for having us. Gonna put the pressure on right away.
Well, we test you both physically and mentally.
There we go.
Nice. So, how you guys feeling? I mean, this is probably the quickest we've done an interview after a race. So tell us what's going on right now. And what are you thinking? How's the lactate, first of all, and how you feeling? Okay, maybe we might have lost them. So let's take a moment. If you guys recall earlier, there could be a windstorm in Victoria, BC. I'm not too sure. Thankfully, they have firefighter Will there. So let's see if we can get them back on track. Just as I was saying, we are going to have, you have the ability to submit your scores for the next few days. And I think that's good to know. And also the grand prize is the the grand prize of the Canadian Indoor Rowing Challenge, if you submit your scores, and for all of you that have participated, is an indoor rowing machine of your choice. And on that, you will be entered to win, to have it sent directly to your house so you can start preparing for next year's challenge. On that, I think we're going to get the wind to die down a little bit, get the tent back in place. Hopefully everyone's okay, and be right back for our final interview of the day.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
This event is run using Time Team Regatta systems, making regatta management easy.
All right, we're back. We've got this tornado, hurricane, whatever it is, underways. I actually do think the tent flew away this time. I'm not sure. But we're back in action, and we're soon going back to Jeremy and Bailey. I hope. Let's hope. I feel like I'm broadcasting live here on the news as we wait to hear from our on-the-scene reporters. And it sounds like we may have reestablished. My gosh, guys, let me ask. First of all, are you okay? Are things okay?
Yeah, we're all good
All
now.
is good. All is good.
All right. My gosh. All right. Well, you're back. Thank you. You've had a few more minutes to let the lactic acid go down, so I won't ask you that question again. But tell me, so I got to ask, Jeremy, how on earth are you keeping this rate so high and for 2,000 meters? It is incredible to see. Please tell me.
Oh, I don't know. It's I mean, it's something I've grown accustomed to for sure now. Like I just like to just, go hard off the bat and then just keep it spinning. It seems to work for me. And I mean, at a certain point in that third five, it gets to be a little challenging, and I really got to focus on just not letting that rate die, because as soon as that rate dies, then I die with it, and it's tough to keep the speed up.
You die with it. Now, I don't think that's necessarily totally fair to say. You don't die with it, but you certainly have some good experience under you, and are looking forward to another exciting 2021 season. Albeit a little different than maybe you thought it was going to be. Maybe your 2021 was going to be spent on a beach versus trading to get to the Paralympics again. But on that, so Bailey, tell us, you're recently new to the sport, is that correct?
Yeah, I started in fall of 2017.
Go ahead, sorry.
I started in fall of 2017.
Okay. And since then, so because I see you're from Peterborough.
Yeah, well, I went to school in Peterborough, so I'm originally from Chatsworth. So, yeah,
Whoa.
Ontario though.
Okay. Okay. Whew. Okay. So we're like the Ontario crew here. Well, sorry, Jeremy, but
Yeah,
anyways, tell us.
There.
So, are you enjoying it so far, Bailey? What are your thoughts initially as you've gone from entering the sport to being good at it to now focused on bigger and better things within the sport? So, how's that going?
Yeah, I think it's going pretty well.
Yeah,
pretty well, Bailey. We just had a 3-second PB, so
no, yeah, I
trying
think,
to be a little.
No, I think it's going pretty well. I'm really enjoying it. So I think that's the best and most important part of the whole process.
Nice.
Is just enjoying it and taking it step by step. So yeah, it's
absolutely.
Good.
And you got Jeremy here to give you a few pointers, and you got a wonderful coach as well. So I think you guys are set up.
We are, yeah. I mean, I think we're looking forward to the coming year. You know, it wasn't what we thought doing it for a second time, but you know, it gives us a chance. You know, recently we've kind of been going back to the basics and then just taking a long and a longer approach and focusing on the process to get to where we want to be next summer, come qualification and then the games.
Absolutely. And so, last question for you guys. I give you maybe a combined response from you. What's the focus then now between now and next summer? I mean, you have the restrictions in place. The things are, you're getting used to a new norm. What's your focus now? How are you staying on track?
For myself, or both of us. I mean, a lot of it is probably staying motivated. I think, as you alluded to before, we probably had different plans for 2021 here, or heading into the fall and next year. So it's kind of like re-gearing and focusing on that goal again, and putting in the work to get there and everything. And so each of us are in different boats right now, and so kind of different circumstances. My partner Jessie, she's here with us at the NTC, and so but she's quite new to the sport. Been around for about a year now, and so we're still working on getting going and learning the technical elements. I'm new to the double as well, so learning to work together and just learning to communicate and those small things that will help us achieve success. And along the way, of course, we accomplish those physiological goals and build the fitness to get there. So, and then maybe Bailey wants to talk about the four a little bit and some of the challenges they've had or are having.
Yeah, so like Jeremy talked to, we're both in different boats. I'm in the 4, and so right now at the MTC it's myself and another teammate, but there's obviously 2 that are traveling just back and forth right now, just because of family and other situations at home. So we've been working around that, and then I think our main focus right now is, like what Jeremy said, just to stay motivated, because we think we all had different goals for 2021. But I think right now our focus is just on making sure that we put our best foot forward every day, and to hopefully qualify our boats in Italy come May.
Yeah, May.
Nice.
So far.
That's that's right. And at this point, that's all you could do, right? Is stay positive and stay focused on it. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, well, both of you listen. Yes. Sorry, you're right. So both of you, thank you. I appreciate it. I know it's time for you to, at this point, you probably just want to go home. So I appreciate you taking the time, speaking to us, and congrats again on your PB. Congrats on what you've accomplished so far, and good luck for the next year. We hope to see you soon, and if not, in Tokyo. Fingers crossed.
Thanks a lot. We appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Take care. Folks, that is about going to do it for us here today. It's been a wonderful time, both in the morning, night, afternoon, whatever. We've had some of you on apéro, some of you on your midnight shake, others with a coffee. I don't know what it's been, but it's been incredible. This was the first ever Canadian rowing virtual event, and I could promise you there are many, many more exciting things to come in 2021, both at the international and national level. I could only hope that we have the same excitement and caliber as we do today. Something tells me we will. But on that note, thank you again for joining. I'm your host, Trofym Anderson. It's been a pleasure. And until next time, take care, keep rowing hard, and we'll see you on the water.
Time Team Regatta Systems. Run your races with success.